Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our Generative AI Leadership Summit. My name is Hassan and I'll be actually walking you through this session. So what is the purpose of this session? We all been experiencing AI, we have been working with GPT and playing around different jingles on our audio players. But what does it mean for an organization? How does AI could make some kind of a value for all of us? So is it beyond hype or is it just another Web 2.0 or another, hype cycle or a fad? So that is what we are going to talk about. So I have my team with me. My name is Dr. Hassan. Doctor comes from my PhD degree. I have nothing to do with medical, believe me. I have around 15 years of experience in different domain, which is time series, which is in image processing, and in NLP, which used to be called before we had LLMs and all these things. And last 3 years, I have been working with Royal Cyber. We have established a team of 40 data scientists across the globe. And I would talk about that later, but I have with me my director, Shiraz, is there. Shiraz, you would like to introduce yourself? If you could come forward, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for coming. The agenda today, just to give you a highlight of this session, is that in the kingdom, we are presenting use cases for every industry. It's better now? Yeah. Thank you. So we're presenting use cases throughout the kingdom. And so far, alhamdulillah, Jeddah, Dammam, we had a very tremendous good response. So the team today would share some use cases, some insights of different industries. And moving forward, we would like to have a one-on-one discussions with you. So how we can move forward or help you in utilizing AI. Because this is something that eventually would get a very quick pace in the kingdom. I'm seeing that after next year, believe me, I'll be honest, every one of you would come up and say we have to have something on AI. So the today's agenda is, and we have kept this session open. You can ask any questions related to your requirements, related to your use cases that you've already working. So with me, we have specially 2 data scientists as well that have hands-on experience in 2 different domains. So thank you again for coming, and I hope to have a candid session with you. Thank you.
So over to you, Suhaib.
Hi everybody, my name is Sohaib and I am a senior data scientist in Royal Cyber. I've been working in the domain of data science, machine learning and now generative AI for the last 7 to 8 years. I've worked in various industries including manufacturing, aerospace, education and insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Arisha?
Hi everyone, I'm Arisha Saeed. I've been working with Royal Cyber for past 1 year as a senior data scientist. My years of experience in the industry of data science, machine learning are around 5 years. I have worked in sectors like skincare, education, manufacturing. So, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Arisha. So moving forward and coming toward our agenda. First up, we will have a quick introduction about GenAI world and some use cases for various industry. Afterwards, we would have a small break, a small session, and then Arisha would talk about Class Buddy. That's a product actually being used by universities to use their virtual TA. And then we would take another a small Q&A session, and afterwards, Suhaib would talk about Proclaim, which is a product in our insurance sector. It's also very closely working with finance as well, so those of you who are in that domain. And after that, we would again have a Q&A session. And finally, these closing remarks from Shiraz. And please stay for the dinner, needless to say. What I'm saying is Q&A session, so don't wait for Q&A round. You can stop us, interrupt us, or whatever you call it. So we are here to kind of answer to these questions. As Shiraz has explained, we want more interactive session, right? So we'll begin. About Royal Cyber, we are an organization around 20 years old in this domain. We have around 2,000 employees. As I mentioned, data science team is expanding with 40 data scientists. We have multiple data engineers, data governance individuals, and we really focus on quality. So when I joined Royal Cyber and in 2023, this chat GPT happened and everyone started going this hype. So our senior management just stopped there. We discussed what would be our strategy. Would we are going to be in a hype cycle like everyone, like into a tirade of cases and all these things, or would we just go deeper into it? So we wanted to understand what is the mathematics behind this process. What is generative AI that is different from classical machine learning or data science lifecycle? And we worked on that, and with that development, we actually kind of create a cohort. We had multiple case studies. Not only we work on solutions, but we also work on product. So we are in that sense differentiated from other consulting companies who are actually only selling these solutions. So some companies, like in KSA, want to have their own product. They want to have their own license. Security could be a serious concern for them. So we are here to help them as well. Right? So moving forward, these are our 5 main vertices. Number 1 is cloud, like AWS, Azure, Google, IBM. Then we have middleware and our integration, enterprise modernization. If you are on legacy system, you want to move to cloud or better solutions. Then DevOps and automation, and data and analytics. I'll talk about data and analytics because that's my domain. But before there, we have our business partners. In cloud, we have all key partners such as Salesforce, GCP, AWS, Azure. If we talk about data, you could see over here, we have Snowflake, we have Databricks, we have OneTrust, we have Collabra, we have Informatica. So we are not only working on generative AI models, but we are also working on governance layer. We are also focusing a lot on our data engineering part. We are also talking about what happens when these model would go into production, how we actually monitor and develop and improve the performance of it. So all of these tools and these partners are helping us. One big partner, which is not here, it's open source actually. If you are familiar with data science domain, then a programming language called Python is used. Scikit-learn, PyTorch, TensorFlow are some of most important and famous library of that. And they are open source. So open source has its own flavor, advantages, because A, they are cheap. You have more autonomy on your security part, so that helps a lot. But on the other side, we have also managed services. And then of course, we have a hybrid model, which is somewhat a combination of managed service versus open source. I'll talk about it at length. So moving forward with GenAI and some of its application, so we have our AI solutions in 4 main vertices. Number 1 is data engineering solutions. In data engineering, what happens is that first part is when data comes. We need to clean that data. We need to transform that data. And we need to see what is the quality of our data. So data strategy is first step so that we are in the right direction. Second step is machine learning solution. When this data is transformed, then we actually put this to a model. A model could be anything from random forest to decision tree to complex neural network. So over here, we validate our models. We test whether we are giving good performance, whether they are readily available for user to be consumed. And if they are, then we actually move to our 4th layer, which is ML ops. So in ops side, we look at our data. We look at our model. Because since we are working in data science, it's very different from software engineering. In software engineering, you develop a solution and that's it. But in data science, there is a feedback loop. You have to work again on the data. Your data might change in next week. You might see new patterns in next month. So how would you actually manage that? That's where MLOps actually help you out to look at your data, to see whether your performance of model is depreciated or not. If it remains steady, if your model is consistent, we are good. But if it is not, we need to go back to our data again and understand that. Finally, generative AI solutions. So in generative AI, we work on the models that are based on actually transformers. The main difference is that we have three cases. One is our descriptive models, then our predictive models, and third one are actually transformers. So if you look at this GPT, it stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So that is a transformer type. And then of course it has different layers and versions and families. So moving on, generative AI. Generative AI in a simple sense is a subfield of artificial intelligence where you have a lot of data, you have trained your model on that data, and then you just try to put it on your organizational data. So you put a highly trained, sophisticated model and you just give it to your data. And we hope that then our use case would be actually performing better. If not, we have two methods to do that. Number one is called prompt engineering. You write prompt, you tell your model that these parts are missing, or you can fine tune. By fine tuning, I mean if you are using a data or if your model is performing very well on insurance and you think it should perform really well on finance, but for some reason it doesn't, then you can fine tune it based on your use cases. So these are also the additional techniques which you can use. Let me reiterate what I have just said. So number one is AI. Underneath, we have ML. Then we have deep learning. So deep learning, I haven't touched upon that, but deep learning is something where you started working on neural network. And AI is not something new. It is there in 70s and in 60s, even back in this Alan Turing time when he was talking about machines to learn and AI, all those parts were there after World War II. But they actually came in real boom after 2010 onwards, when we started working with neural networks, with our LSTMs, with our GRU, with our convolutional neural network. So that became a separate class. Out of all that, generative AI is a small class. But I am pretty hopeful that generative AI itself would surpass all of its subclasses and would become a huge, huge development. So moving on, generative AI, we have classically four classes. Number one is text generation. We all are familiar with ChatGPT. We all might have played with this, worked on different kind of methods. It performs just like a human-like responses. We ask the query, it could act as a bot. But then the other one is image generation. That is somewhat interesting, because over here, you can actually create your own images, which would look like human. If you are playing video games, if you are working on autonomous vehicle, then instead of classifying those images, so we used to have cats versus dog case study, or some numbers that you identify only one number. Now we have come to that range where we have developed a system where you can actually generate realistic models, and those models could create some kind of realistic images. One very famous technique or model is stable diffusion. Afterwards, we have audio generation. If you want to, for example, mix different tones, so we have a play which is very famous that people use different celebrities' voices and play around with the same song. It could be Taylor Swift, then Donald Trump, then Barack Obama, then some football player like Messi, and all of them are singing. So some of them are even not singers, but the way they are singing, they are actually really toned into the voice and to the development. So that is happening because of models like Whisper, which is an advanced ASR model. Finally, we have video generation. So video generation is actually a combination of different frames that are coming from image. So we used to combine them and hope that they will create an animation. But again, now we have models which are actually trained on video. So imagine and video is one example where they trained model on huge videos and you can simply just play around it. So imagine you are in a construction site and you want to see whether your laborers are following right compliances. So model would detect if they are not wearing the cap in the right way, if the coat is not up to or close in that sense. So all these aspects, whatever you would ask model to do, it could classify and inform. So all these four cases are there. So let me move forward very quickly to text generation with AI. As I mentioned, some of examples are content creation, chatbots, code generation, like GitHub is one very good example where they have created a co-pilot of GitHub where developers can take help of writing code. Then we have customer support system and personalized market. So all these are mostly common use cases. OpenAI has GPT-4 and list would go on. Meta has Llama 2, which is open source, and then Google has Bard, and recently Google has started working or developing its ecosystem on Gemini. Then we have image generation through AI. Over where we could design art, we could talk about product branding, we could talk about marketing and content generation. Some of those cases. Models, which is very famous, is Midjourney, DALI, which is coming from OpenAI, and then Stable Diffusion. Most famous one or the champion right now is DALI actually from open source. Reason being, it has actually developed based on a lot of data or a diverse data from internet, and more is coming into the system. But others one have a very good security and promising layer as well. So they are catching up with DALI. Moving on, audio and speech generation. So music composition is one way. And let me just step a little back over there. What we used to do in old times, whenever we had a sound, we used to first convert that audio into a text file. And then we used to read that text file and try to find whether we can create something out of it. It was divided into NLPs, so natural language processing. One component was NLU, which is natural language understanding. Another was NLG, natural language generation. But if your model has not understood content and the text is actually not perfectly reflecting what that meant, then of course your model will not perform because you missed the first step out. But now you don't need to convert that. Yes, you can still use the same technique, but your model is actually trained on sound messages, that is on audio messages. That's where OpenAI Whisper comes in, that's where Voice Box from Meta comes in. And these two are efficiently performing really well. You would look at some demo by Suhaib today, where he would talk about these aspects or these applications all in one go. And finally, we have video generation and AI. So why the picture of moon, man landing on moon? Because a lot of people at that time speculated that it was actually a hoax. We never landed on the moon. But now model is creating and generating those results, and they seem pretty close to what happened in 60s. So seems like that we were right, we actually landed the moon. It was not a hoax because AI is somewhat confirming that. The champions in this field is Google Imagining, Meta's Make a Video, and Sora. Sora actually got fame, notoriety, whatever you call it, because it's coming from OpenAI, and people really got scared of it, the results that it was giving, because it was very close. That's where we actually are now jumping to our ethical issues, that if AI would become so much powerful and it could manipulate, morph some images, and actually just circulate those videos of celebrities, it could happen to us. And it's a very serious concern, would require a separate discussion and topic, but I won't go there. And final one is time series. I have been working with forecasting models and time series for a long time. They are considered as sequential data, but that is a very complex and sophisticated data. So we have, for example, PatchTST or Time GPT. They are nowhere near that good as language models. And there is a reason. Time series is very complex data. If you have missed some data between that, you are breaking your sequence, and that's why your model might not perform very well. So on ground, when we look at time series problems, we say we have been working on weather forecasting, sales forecasting for Walmart since 70s. So what's happening over here? Why time series is not going up to that point? Because A, problems are now more complex, more complicated. They are not that simple. So in time series prediction, when you miss some data, you actually miss some values. And because of that, so just take an example of dynamic pricing in energy. The energy price fluctuates all through the day. It does not remain the same. There are peak hours and then there are off-peak hours. And because of that, it has a very different reprehension for a user who is using it for commercial aspect and someone who is using it for household. And these models need to segment these aspects and create good and authentic and validated results. And that's why, unfortunately, time series is not on par with what we have seen in text, in audio, in our images. But I am very hopeful that once we reach to a point where we have experimented enough, then we would come up the result. And other limitation is that while you can go on your internet and you can write different queries, mostly time series problems are stemming from companies. and companies are not willing to share this time series data to ChatGPT. So these are some of the limitations. Because of that, time series models are not there yet. To summarizing or oversimplifying this, we have discriminative models. That is, we used to have a predictive model in machine learning world, and then we have our generative models. These two are two different words because we used to have a training data and we used to test on that. Now we have transformers which we take and they are already trained and we just directly put to our data set. And this is something which is up till 1960 and 70, but of course, these generative modeling was not as good as it is because of limitation of computation, because of our understanding of mathematics. Then came this new generation where we work with GANs. These are generative adversarial networks. As the name suggests, we used to have two sides of our model. So one side is like a painting picture, another side was a replica of it. So you used to kind of present it or train it up to a level that one picture side would look exactly the same. Up till this point, you wait, and it used to be called reinforcement learning. But then came after 2007, this transformer boom, and that changed everything. Because as I said, now we had better computation, now we had better scientists as well who could understand these all computation and could test them. And then Google paper happened, and afterwards we saw a boom. And from 2023, we have seen definitely more improvement. To illustrate what I'm saying is this graph. On your x-axis, you can see time and how models are being developed. If I may just point this area, this 2017, there was a paper on transformer, which is very famous. Attention is all you need, from Google. And from that paper, it's interesting that something happened from research and from an organization who was doing some research, not from a university, and that changed everything. Then you started having more and more applications. You had Elm, you have BERT, you have then GPT with its first version, and you can see now almost every month we have some kind of a new model. You can see how frequent we are having these models. Every now and then we come up with something new. And I'm very sure while I'm talking to you all gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, we would have actually new models coming into picture as well. So this is much saturation we are having on language models. But what about our vision transformers? They are not far away. They are also seeing this boom. GPT-4 version actually is some point where we saw this boom, and now we are onto this point. So LLMs are definitely here. They are being improved at a pace which is unprecedented. And finally, we are talking about some of the benefits. So yes, this is theory. Yes, these are looking really promising. NVIDIA could testify you that this is the future. But what about for us? What about organizations? So number one is that you can create your automated content. So if you look at content writers, they actually becomes very frisky that they might lose their job, but it's not gonna happen. It would actually save their time, because instead of writing whole pages of paper, they can simply ask their GPT to write this content for them. They would only need to review that, evaluate whether model has done the right job, and then they can actually have their time better be working on other tasks, high priority tasks, or maybe innovate themselves, take some other course to kind of improve themselves. So it's not that it's in a parallel universe, it's in the same word, in a sequence. First model would write something for you, then you would review it. Then comes this improved customer experience. Yes, we can see our chatbots, which we used to have in 2014 onwards, they've significantly improved, because people used to wait for 30 minutes, 40 minutes in line for their customer services. But now these bots actually could make these things a better place. So they are becoming again a medium. The point that I said in the previous way, cost and time efficiency, no brainer. We are reducing the cost of development, and we are also saving our time, not only for organizations, but also for our customers. Finally, task automation, analysis, personalization, and customization. So customization is a very, very important point, because every industry has its own values, its own needs. If you are in finance, you might have a very different need. If you're in manufacturing, you would have a very, very different need. And actually, these solutions, GenAI solutions, work all well on these parts. So this is kind of a summary to theoretical part. Before we move forward with demos and with something fun, do you have any questions? Anyone? So we are fine. Soeb, can you take charge of? I think how much time we have? Please.
It's always. I don't know if I'm audible. I'm not the expert in AI here, but as you have illustrated earlier, and as it's always mentioned in the media and from expert, that transformers is always the key point, as you have mentioned, Google's paper. Could you please just elaborate on the concept of transformers? Because to me, at least, it is not very clear. And why has it played this critical role?
All right, sure. So transformer works on a system or an architect where you have on one side an encoder and on other side you have a decoder. And between them there is a context vector. So transformers started with a translator. If you are writing something in English and you want a result in French on the other side of it, then English will be on your encoder side, French will be on your decoder side, and the context vector will be between them. What does this context vector means is that it will convert all those words into a number, because machine cannot understand words. It always goes into a binary sequence, 0 and 1. So as a number would be given into that context vector. So that was originally encoder and decoder model, but then it becomes more and more sophisticated because I'm talking about LSTMs, GRUs, these are deep learning models. So when they realize that this context vector is not enough, what if that is giving a very different value? So they started talking about transformer, where they talked about a mechanism which is called attention. So attention mechanism changed everything, because if you are talking about that a fat cat could not cross the street because it was too narrow. So it represents which one? As human, we know we are talking about the street and not the cat. But the model cannot understand. It stands for what? Because it requires some kind of a context. So this attention model provided a mechanism to understand to these contexts, to these references, what those numbers mean, what those words mean. And that's where the change actually started happening. So when you're talking to a chatbot now, it would actually know the previous history. It would know what context you are talking about. So because of that, even somewhat broken English or Urdu or Arabic works on your bots than earlier cases where it used to fail actually to understand. So that's how the transformers work. And there are different generation of transformers, because what I have explained you is on language models only, specifically. What about if it's an image model? As I talked about GANs and convolutional neural networks, they used to work in a very different system. And then same goes to time series, because it's not a sequential data as a number. It's not going to convert into 0 and 1. It is like a tabular data, and these numbers mean something. So when you've written 70 and there is a word 55, we know that 70 is actually greater than 55, and it's not a sequence, it's not a mapping. So for them, they started creating more and more sophisticated transformer. For example, in time series, there is an encoder and there is a decoder. Your past values are on encoder side, and your future values are on those decoder side. So there is a very famous paper which I think Google has launched last year, which talks about tide. It's also a transformer for time series algorithm, and that actually explains this phenomena pretty openly. But I think on time series, we are still there, as I talked about 2017. There are not too many applications, there are not too many case studies, so these theories are actually being developed. But this is kind of a theoretical background behind transformer. I hope I answered the question.
No, thank you. Very good. So the transformers is the intelligence bit of
Yes.
the AI.
Yes.
It's what gives the context. It's not just a statistical game as it used to be before.
Yeah, so now we are trying to also go in a point where we can use a combination of our statistical model and our transformer, but you are bang on right that transformers are like the mechanism that is creating this revolution on GenAI part. So right about that. All right. So how we are going with time? Do we need a break? Okay. So, or I can continue with some case studies. Okay. Okay. So we want to continue with some case studies, and then we will take a break because that's what I just been informed. All right. So moving forward with first one is finance. What if you are in a banking sector and you have a huge amount of data in millions, and one of our customer who is working in credit union has actually worked with us on this fraudulent transactions. So in old times, we used to have data where you could see that it's a fraudulent or not. It was as simple as like a binary cases. And then you have multiple variables. Now this is not that same or not that easy because we tend to actually find fraudulent cases, but there is a degree of fraud. So these models are actually very, very sensitive because one thing is that if you are detecting something which is fraud, and if it's not fraud, it's actually a real transaction, it's not a big deal because you actually got trigger. But what if you miss something which was actually fraudulent and you call it trusted? That's very expensive on you. So these dynamics are now changing, and that's where the challenge lies, that you need to customize your model to understand these domain challenges. Another challenge is on this credit scoring. So when we do this credit scoring means those customers who are performing well, they are paying their bills, we are offering them other services. And based on that customer portfolio, we actually customize our model to each and every customer. Because if I'm using some kind of a package, it might be very different from your side. So because of that customization on individual level, these models are becoming more and more sophisticated. Again, it's very important that customer data is secure because it could have their credit card information, their family detail, their birth detail, and if that is actually been compromised, it's very serious. So we need to create a system where models know it, but then we have a security system that they don't know it. So it's kind of a dilemma, but we are dealing with that with new transformer models. Finally, we are talking about asset management. Now, in this case, consider it like a buddy. If I am in Canada and I apply for someone to just give me an appointment, it takes a lot of time, or 1 week. Then they talk to me about my assets, about some of the ideas that they are talking about, for example, mortgage. And then next week there is another appointment. So there is 2 weeks time wasted and I have achieved nothing. How about you have a model that could be used for 24/7, which could give you some kind of a plan, and then you talk to a human agent afterwards. So this improves actually the situation. And as I was talking about, not only cost, but also time. And time is money. We all know that. So these models are actually being very effective in our financial sectors. All good? Okay. Moving forward to retail. So retail is also a very interesting domain because it has changed because of GenAI. So first thing is that we analyze this customer data to kind of suggest that which product they could be actually loving or not. In Google's time or in Amazon time, we had these recommendation system which used to tell which product to be used, which not to be used. But with these models, we can actually find way better approaches thanks to our updated T4 models and all these things. And then there is another system where you can actually do this key search and visual searches. So it's not a text-to-text kind of a search. It's a very different search, which starts from a keyword where you write a text and it would show you a video. Like you want to know that I want to buy this jacket or a two-piece suit of this color, and it would show you that, okay, this is what you want to know. Again, a text is written, but on other side, you would get an image in output, which is very effective. It could actually work as more like a virtual shopping center at your home. You can go and test it, and if you don't find it feasible, you can always return to that. So there is no risk over here. And then finally, we talk about our inventory management, the way inventories are made in retail sector. If at some point or at some area there is a bottleneck, then actually your model could identify it, not only identify it, but also trigger this to your project managers who could actually find out before something happens. Because mostly these project managers and all these executives, they find out when things go wrong, and then they only need to blame someone. But this would actually predict something like, let's say in 7 days, something would happen, or there will be a delayed in deliveries. So how to fix that out? So models are not only predicting, but they are also giving you some advice how to fix the system. So this is in retail. I'm considering that everything is good. So we are moving to third one, healthcare. So in healthcare, we used to have our images, our x-rays, our CT scans, all those things. And through that, you can actually diagnose what disease you are having. So we used to have benign or malign cancer prediction or data sets even on Kaggle, but now they have also improved and a lot of hospitals are using them. Then mental health care assistant is very important, because where I'm coming from, again, going back to Canada, if you are going through in some trouble, you of course have 911 and they immediately would hear you, but they cannot understand your voice or your sentiment, because sometimes you look really normal and fine. And a lot of people who are going through this mental breakdown, they don't want to actually look vulnerable. So with their model or with their chat buddy, they can talk about these issues. They say that, okay, I'm going through this problem, and based on that person's health, previous past health, maybe their blood pressure, their heartbeat, actually model could tell that how this person is going through this. So mental health care could be actually triggered through the system to operators who would know that this person is going through a rough time or maybe a bad day. Just check upon him. Again, save time and save lives, both. And the risk is only that it might actually trigger by mistake something which is not happening. In this case, there is no loss, because only operator would talk to a person and would say, are you okay? And if that person is okay, no problem. Similarly, this could be also used for elderly citizens, because their problems sometimes are actually not very visible. And something, when damage happens, then we can only come across and fix them. And then finally, we have this, our proactive health management system, which is like a full-fledged system where you have overall your portfolio as your patient, and then you can go away and you can have these prescriptions or these systems. So if you are visiting a doctor, what happens is that doctor would actually take a history, a junior doctor would take a history, and that would again waste your time. 20 to 30 minutes. Every time you would visit, first there will be a history. So that time could have been saved if there is a model which talk about the customer's history, some of their predictions to what medicines they are allergic to, or what precautions a doctor should take before kind of checking them. In this way, doctor is again up to date, they can check and they can actually prescribe a better results. Again, time saved, value saved, and money saved. All these three things. Because in North American market or even in Europe, doctors are very expensive. And if somebody would come and just to check them up, they are taking actually time away from other patients. And there is a long queue of it. So all these solutions could be actually useful for them. Just for an information, in London, Ontario region, so we also have in Canada an area called London. We have also a system which is deployed with Royal Cyber with our clients, and that is functioning pretty well. So these are some of those solutions.
If,
Okay.
no, yeah, not for the healthcare.
Yes.
For the retail, which is our use case is not for retail. We do have a big business in the MRO, so maintenance, repair, overhaul, and usually it is delivered for a very classified customers, and the data in there are very classified. I can see the value in what you have presented. And actually, this goes across all AI applications, not just this specific use case. Is how can we achieve or get this value without compromising the privacy?
Yes. So there are 2 or 3 things about this. One is when you're talking about models. Models itself are just a tool. So you need some engineering to fix that tool, that it would perform well. So you need very good engineers. One very quick solution is that you have your access control systems, that if you're using cloud, then you would take care of it, that, okay, a data scientist or in a model would not know your information. If this is deployed on a system, that would be working on a very different layer, on a very different filter. And if a data is coming from your source, that is also not visible to your data scientist. So you can create like these 3 boundaries or 3 filters on data side, on model side, and then on your user interface side. Another approach is that you completely go on-prem. You don't expose anything to your model. By this way, the only problem is that you might need a heavy data center, which would be costly, but then you have like a peace of mind that your data is at least saved. So you can do that approach. But if it goes along and it's very expensive, The third approach is a hybrid approach, where you can see that which one is more valuable for you, your data or your performance. And based on that trade-off, you can use it. If your data is very valuable, then you can use your cloud on your warehouse system, which will be on-prem, and your model on other side, which is on cloud. If your case is different, that for example, performance is really valuable to you, and you want to use some model like OpenAI, which is much more in vogue, then you would choose that other option, but it would be slightly costly on your part.
So in the scenario where I have the data on my premise and also the user interface, so these things cannot go out, definitely. And the model is a third party. Is there a technical mechanism to make sure that I can still do the querying without exposing any information
Yes.
to the service provider for the model itself?
Yes. So in this way, again, answer is yes, but it's not that simple. So bear with me. There is one way that you can use a managed service. That would be like, for example, you're using AWS. You will be into that system, or you're using Azure, then you are into that cohort. The other problem, or the other way, is that you would be using a model that is an open source model. As I was just mentioning, not OpenAI, but Llama or Falcon. By that, you can actually secure not only cost, but also your security, because now you are not ending up promoting anything on their site. And then the third way, as you're talking about, you can use a third-party model always. So if you're using Azure or AWS, you find a model which is better approach, but belongs to, for example, Google, then you can kind of integrate that solution in your Azure. So Google and Azure are competitors, but that in that sense are collaborators. Because if you're working in Azure and you want to use Gemini, you can just fix that and integrate that in your system. So through these approaches, you can actually see better performances, good security, and also lower cost. So these three, it's like a 3x3 matrix. You have at one side your cost, another side your security, and then third one is your performance. So ideally we want all of them like being perfect 100%, but since we live in the real world, that's not going to happen. So we need to kind of look at that, okay, which one is kind of compromised. If security and performance are high, then maybe your cost will be actually slightly over the budget. So we need to kind of fix all these in one go. Make sense? Okay. Okay. So moving forward from healthcare to energy. Now, energy is, as I said, is a bit tricky because you can predict what is going to happen in future or energy demand in the system, but then these things would be kind of flexible, fluctuating. So one case study that we were applying in Netherlands is they are leading in electric vehicles. So with electric vehicles, when you use their charging system, you are actually pushing your grid to limits because you are using some energy to charge your cars that would actually put an extra burden on grid. So the idea was to solve some problem, but that caused another problem. So how would you actually kind of create the system where not only you can look at your price at different time of the day, and you can use it for trading, just like the way we trade money. So if you want to sell your energy into the market, then you can sell it. If you want to buy energy at high cost or at a low cost in lower hours or off hours, you can actually buy that. So consider it more like an information system, but these are becoming very, very sophisticated thanks to generative AI models. And other cases, this distribution of electricity. And that distribution could be not only on time area or the grid balance, but this could be across different region. Again, coming back to this Netherlands example, energy cost is higher in Amsterdam, which is in south. And then in the north, where we have Groningen, the price is slower because it's a small town. And of course, the load on Amsterdam, because it's a developed city, would be higher. But so would be the development. They would have more electric cars. So how would you kind of balance these two out to that small city versus a big city where there is more commercial value? So the tariffs and the prices which are given to customers could be actually handled very well with the model. And then finally, we use this load portfolios or profiles for each user. Again, we are coming back to that customization part, like in Amazon or like in Netflix, when you watch some series or some season, it would tell you that you might want to watch this as well. So if you have actually taken care of some kind of a transaction on this liquid market, it would recommend you that what are some of the best other options for you into the society to whether you can liquidate it. So consider it like an investment. You bought it when the price was low, and you are waiting that when it's high. So on a 24/7 chart, it would tell you that, okay, now it's a good time to sell your energy into the market. So the beauty is that if you are a residential one, you would get a lot of benefits from government, because when you sell it, you will sell it at a higher price, and when you generate it, you will generate it on a lower price. It's a win-win for government, it's win-win for residents, it's also a great win for commercial system because they don't have any low time. So all of these case studies actually combine into one. And then we talk about manufacturing. I just touched upon this while I was talking about introduction, identifying these defects and then seeing them in real time. Now, these two are very different problems. Number one, you would find out your defect in your, for example, in your industry or into your product. But would you get this information in real time? Would it be too late before you get some information about it? So this is a completely different challenge. One challenge is related to your data science model or your GenAI model. The other challenge goes to your pipelines and how efficiently you can pop up that result. And those both things are, again, it's a give and take. If you are really concerned about efficiency of your results, you might want to have a lighter model. If you want to have a really good performance, you would have a heavy model or a transformer. Both have a pro and con. And then we talk about these optimized manufacturing process. Again, if you are talking about downtimes, these increase of efficiency, machine failures, and lowering prices, all in one variables, then you need to optimize them. There will be a trade-off. Something would go high, something would go low, but it won't be a perfect point, but an optimized point. Over here, we mostly talk about these optimization problem, like our linear programming. So this is not classically into transformers, but something where you kind of take all these values into an optimized point. So more on an engineering point, but on the linear algebra area. And then finally, you predict about the demand of something. So it's challenging that you talk about raw materials and its finished product, and then you say that, okay, how much we would need in our next week time, or maybe in 3 weeks time. So it would tell you kind of a demand, and then based on that, you can order it into different areas. Again, shipping, transport, all these things, some companies are not taking it as a vertical integrated. They really are dependent on other companies. They are modulated. So in that case, you can actually take care of it. And then one case study that we have recently worked with our Middle East partners in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry, it's an NDA. So they are working on different composition of their cement. So they have different compliances across different countries. If you talk about Malaysia, Turkey, or in Middle East, they all are using kind of a different system. Just like Europe has a very different compliance and North America has a different compliance. So based on this, it becomes very complicated for humans to take track of it. A, it requires very good domain knowledge, and B, it always makes some kind of a differentiation to whatever value they predict. So humans' fault are kind of forgiven. For that reason, they have actually gone one step forward to talk about models. So now models would give you or prescribe you these different compositions, and then on top of it, you can use it as a human, which one suits you the better. So this is the idea of that case study. Okay, so it's a Salah time. So yeah. Please, we can accommodate.
Yeah, apologies if I'm excluding more on the break time here. The point that you mentioned regarding the efficiency versus high performance. Now, I would like to ask you this question as a manufacturing industry that is, let's say, starting up or at the baby steps of their journey. Do you, in your experience, what would you recommend as a starting point when we are trying to implement GenAI into this pipeline or the identifying defects type of scenario here? Would you go with high efficiency first, or would you go with high performance first? Or how would you differentiate between the two when we are applying GenAI in this particular scenario?
Mm-hmm. So it really depends on client, number one. But if you ask me, I would go with the performance. Reason being that if you end up finding a different answer or a misplaced value, the cost would be very, very high. Even if you get answer in a very quick way, that's not gonna be. But if you have performance on site, and then sometimes it's a delay, it won't happen always. Again, as I said, if you're using a lighter model or a lighter version of your model, then you can actually optimize your efficiency pretty quickly. But the main issue right now with models is this performance, right? So I would say that performance would be high value for me, because that would create a bigger value for company than the speed of it. Again, look at this case of a banking case study that we talked about. If some fraud happens, would you want it to be like propped into a quick system, or would you like a high accuracy? I would say high accuracy, because in that case, if you start doing that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transaction, and your accuracy is around 90%, you are pretty confident on your results. Then you can do this energy or efficiency problem by doing engineering, that we want this system in seconds or in milliseconds. But if your performance is poor, what would it serve, even if it's just giving you those results quicker? There is no point of it. Yes.
In manufacturing, as Hassan expressed, that sometimes, especially the implementation that we've done with the UAE, that is more towards key components, so the performance is not the issue. Accuracy is the issue, because in identifying the composition advised by AI, it has to be accurate at least 90%, so that the chemical engineers could test, okay, these are the three options that AI has given to us. Depends on the use case.
All right. So when we are digging into the Gen AI, so we have to be ready to dig deep with it, and not just half it on in the manufacturing scenario. Then
Yes,
what you say, huh?
and the reason why I said this, like dig deeper into that system, A, as you mentioned rightly so, but B, for example, your accuracy is 50% only, and if you don't know how to fix that problem, that's not so. You might need 70%, 80% even in first round, and as time would go, you would go for 90% with the phase. So in first 3 weeks, your target is to get 70% accuracy. What if our model cannot do that? So if you don't understand mathematics behind that, you cannot actually fix this one. If you're using some high level API which would just give you results, that is good for playing for a student or just to understand something, but for an organization, it's not acceptable. So you need some deeper understanding, and then on top of it, you need to kind of choose whether you are going for a good performance versus your time or efficiency. And as stated, performance is higher for us, so we would definitely try to improve our model to our results so that we can then actually put that into production.
Okay.
Make sense?
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Yeah, so pre-break for 15 minutes, and then we'll continue from here. Thank you. So we start with our first demo, and that is something that we are really proud and honored of working on. The reason being that this is actually a virtual teaching assistant. It's a class buddy. And if you are coming from a different domain out of university, you can think about in your own domain. So idea is that back in our 70s, we had this threshold of students going to universities. There was a huge number, and the ratio of student to professor was very high. It still is very high, but used to be around like 100 student per professor. And if you're from North America, especially from states, you know that education is very expensive. So those students could not find right value. They could not find enough time of professor. As a solution, they started hiring teaching assistant. A, they were students from the university, and B, they were available. So assumption was that they would give those extra times, they would act as a mediator between the professor and students. But we actually fell into another problem, because apparently those students are human, they have a life, they have to also study, they have to go back to home and have a life. And students start getting again these frustrations that, okay, our emails are not being responded, we actually don't know. Another issue is disparity, that some students are really good at some courses, like mathematics. Some people are originally really blessed and they are good with mathematics. Some are good with programming, some are good with social science. What about someone is struggling and they really are in red zones, 70% or 60% student, and someone is 90% student. We need to kind of bridge this gap. We don't need students who are 60% to lose hope that they cannot actually achieve to that point. And if collaborative communication between professors and students could actually help it out, then why not? So in comes idea of using AI on top of it. The idea is that AI is available 24/7. So if students have some query, some concern, they can directly ask to AI. And if that problem is further needed some escalation, it would actually go forward to professor. Not only AI has like some valuable information for them, but have also course recommendation, their query recommendation, and also something very valuable for professors, that we are now going into a second phase and we are seeing that how we can actually improve professors' behavior, because there are some of the key feedbacks that students are too shy to give them during the class. There are some questions which might not sound very appropriate, which Arisha would actually explain, that students are not open to ask before a class of 100 or 120. So for these things, there could be a more personalized solution that could provide them these ideas. And again, going back to some other industries, which could be finances, if you are having some stocks in market, you have 24/7 availability. If you are working in healthcare sector, you have 24 availability. So availability is a key, but not only that, but performance matters. And you would see that hands-on code that we would show you how actually model performs, how accurate those results are, and how much we could improve based on our interaction. We are in an age where we are talking about agents. We are no more about bots and assistants. Agents are actually working very closely like humans. So that's the idea. So I welcome Arisha Saeed on stage to present this TA solution.
Okay. Hi. So, as Dr. Hassan said, and I believe we've all been students at some point in our lives, and we all understand that how daunting it can be to be a student. I'm going to start with a simple example, and I'm going to move here. Okay. So, what is Class Buddy? I'm going to explain that through an example. So, I'm a student, and we got a presentation coming up next Monday, right? So I'm confused about the idea of what I'm going to present, but I'm too shy to talk to my teacher, right? I don't have it in me to just stand up and ask the questions. The TA doesn't have time for me, which is very common because TAs usually don't have time for students because they're students themselves, and it makes sense. So being a classic procrastinator, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait all the way till the end. Now it's 12 a.m. on a Monday, and the presentation is at 3 p.m. So I have a very limited amount of time left for me. So there are only 3 people that can help me at this time: a friend, a teacher, or the TA. 12 a.m., there's no way the teacher or the TA is going to respond back to you. But your friend might, and the odds of your friend helping you out at 12 a.m. are very low as well. So Class Buddy is someone that can help you at that hour, right? You don't have to be shy about the question that you have to ask because it's an agent. It's a chatbot. It's going to tell you what you're going to ask no matter how many times you're going to ask. So it basically provides you with 24/7 assistance. Students have to have their questions in 24/7. Like, questions keep coming, and keep coming. Your teacher won't always be there to answer those questions for you. Your TA wouldn't always be there to answer those questions for you. So Class Buddy is gonna do that for you. The second scenario, or the second example, is a lot of times we're not fully active in a class, right? We don't fully understand what the teacher is telling. Maybe I missed the last class, or maybe I'm just generally unaware of what's going on in the class. So what happens in situations like these is that we come up with an idea in our head. We don't want to discuss it with the teacher, so we come up with an idea that, okay, this is what the teacher is telling, right? So that's like a made up situation. That's like a made up understanding, and it's not correct. So when you go on in the exam and you write that made up understanding, there goes your grade, right? Downhill. There goes your grade, straight off. So there is a lack of content awareness when we come into situations like these, because we haven't asked anyone, because a lot of times maybe there wasn't the availability of the teacher or the TA, or sometimes there just was a general shyness, a lack of confidence from the end of the student. So Class Buddy erases all these confusions. It's a chatbot. You can ask tens, hundreds of times the same question. So if I didn't understand what the teacher told today, let's say we were talking about neural nets and I had no idea what we discussed in the class. So I'm going to go and I'm going to ask the first time, okay, what did we study? What are neural nets? It's going to give me an answer. I didn't understand what it said. I'm going to change my question, modify it a bit, but it would still be the same thing. The words would be modified. I'm going to post that question again and I'm going to ask it again. Okay, no, I don't understand it. What are neural nets? Why did we learn them? What's the connection? What's the situation? Why are we trying to understand the concept of neural nets? And the bot would answer that every time for the student. That is something a teacher or a TA won't do for you. They're running out of time. They're short on time. It's not their fault. So Class Buddy is the middleman. It is what's there for you 24/7, provides you with content awareness, and makes the communication gap smaller. So everything is there, the information is there. Now, where does Class Buddy gets all its information? Is it generalized? Is it hallucinating? Like, how is the information coming in? So Class Buddy, it's built on top of Canvas, which is a learning management system. It can be built on top of any learning management system, honestly. Could be OneDrive, could be Google Classroom. We can build it on top of whatever we want, as long as it's a legit knowledge base that has the content of the course on which we're building Class Buddy. So in the current example that I'm going to share with you guys, we'll be talking about operations management course on top of which our Class Buddy is built. Now, these were the advantages that we're providing to a student. But when we're in a university setup, it's not just about students. We have a few teachers here that would add that the life of teachers is very difficult as well. They're managing 70, 80 students from different sections, right? So it's difficult for them as well. They can't get into the head of their students. They can't fully understand what 70, 80 students understood or not, what they taught. So we've created an added beneficial feature, which is called the GPT Builder. GPT Builder, it gives you two kinds of supports, right? So for one, it provides teachers with the option of uploading their content. So whatever they're taught, like a teacher does not create everything from the very start. Courses keep getting updated, presentations keep getting updated, new assignments come in, new tests come in. So the teachers can upgrade everything through GPT Builder. And the second good thing is that we have the response history managed in the GPT Builder. So response history of what the students have been searching. Now consider this. So me being a teacher, I taught neural nets today. And 20 out of my 30 students went to Class Buddy and asked, what did we learn today? What are neural nets? Like all the questions that are related to what we learned today. So that's going to give me the impression as a teacher is that something that I taught today didn't make much sense, right? So the idea or the methodology or the way I was delivering it was not as clarified as it should have been, right? So that helps the teacher in improving the way that they're teaching or the way that they're presenting the idea or the way that they're corresponding or, interacting with the students. So this being said, this is what Class Buddy is. It has provided students and teachers the opportunity to make their communication gap smaller. It's very friendly. It's there for you 24/7. And to add in, Class Buddy is something that's specific to the case of education, right? But to think about it, we can use Class Buddy in any scenario, like whichever industry we're in. We have documentation, we have information, and we can provide Class Buddy with the access of that information and use it to get answers to our questions. So if there are any questions till this point, I can answer them for you before we jump onto the live demo.
Two questions. The first question is, you said it feeds on actual legitimate data. So does it minimize hallucination, or it
does.
It completely erase hallucination?
Well, basically, the idea is that it reduces hallucinations to 99.9% because you're not generalizing it, you're not providing it with a general information. You're providing it with the data that is particular or specific to your case. So that removes hallucinations for you. And the other good thing is that you can engineer the prompt that you're providing the chatbot, right? So within that prompt, you can mention that if you don't know the answer, do not hallucinate, right? So that improves your results by 99.9%.
And my other question to you, Doctor, I don't know if I heard you correctly. You said these are not bots anymore, these are agents. I'm not sure I did catch exactly what is the difference that you're.
Okay. So it goes back to our chatbots. We used to have them in start of our time. We give them some kind of a knowledge, some kind of keywords or a regular expression. By understanding them, they actually create a response. Classical example is, hello, how are you? The bot would answer 3 or 4 set up like ready-made questions. Then we came into the next generation where we went for the assistant. Now assistant was much better because it could actually answer sequential information in one go. It won't take anything from the system, from your database. It would actually generate something out of that system. So hello, how are you? Answer will not always be like, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm this. Answer could actually vary. And in different languages, of course, it has different flavors. But now we are coming to this agent like the bot. So if you ask the bot a classical question, not only it could actually understand your tone, it could understand your idea. So it would actually help you out in that sense. So now the idea is that we are coming to the point where bots could talk more like humans. They could have some kind of a conscious. And we have this debate over the years that whether bots would actually have emotions or not. If bots have no emotions or not, I'm not sure about it, but they can actually get humans' emotion. I give you an example. If you are really frustrated and bot is not helping you, so you would say, job well done, you have not done anything, you have wasted my 5 minutes or my 30 minutes, depending where you are standing it. The bot would understand that first sentence was great job. It would understand it's a positive sentiment. It would say that, okay, this is good, I helped. The answer that you will get is that I'm always happy to help you out and you can visit, which would infuriate you more because you're already frustrated and bot is not understanding. But there is a layer of sarcasm in your tone, right? The bot could not understand that. Agent would understand that part. Sometimes even humans could not understand that bot. I'm like a living example of that. I fail to sometimes understand the sarcasm, but still, bots would actually, I think one day would outperform me. So we are on that level where these bots are actually becoming more and more intelligent. So now they're not loosely called chatbots, they are called agents. They can perform way better. They are more like your friends, your helper. And in this case, you would actually look at an agent, which would help you out as more like a human. So students might actually trust that like they do trust on their TA or their professor. Because if there is a bot and that is giving them the same responses, they might get actually frustrated. Instead of wasting their time again, they won't even visit the website. They would just completely go on to other route. So we don't want that. Make sense?
Clear, thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Any other question? No? Okay. Hi again.
Yeah.
The chatbot itself, is it only dependent on the learning management system, or can we adopt other models into this to generate a chatbot here?
No, learning management system here is what we've used as the knowledge base because universities, they upload all their content on learning management systems. So we didn't want to make the life of teachers more difficult than it already is, right? But we can integrate it with whichever database that we want, right? Wherever we're maintaining the data, that's what becomes our knowledge base. And to add a bit on the question that you asked, Dr. Hassan, is we'll see in the live demo here that when you ask a chatbot about something, so for example, I ask like, explain me a bit about neural nets. It's going to tell me that, okay, go to slide number this from the presentation and go to chapter 2 from the book and you'll find content on neural nets, right? It would redirect me to a bunch of links or a bunch of sources that it knows. But you'll see the results here is that it won't redirect you to those specific links or those specific pages. It would give you a conversational answer. Like it would end to end explain everything that it was able to find within the content as if a teacher would. Okay, then I think we can. Okay, first I'm going to show you like a small video of what Class Buddy is as a product for Royal Cyber.
Welcome to Class Buddy, your everyday virtual teaching assistant, powered by Royal Cyber. Class Buddy transforms the way courses are taught and learned with real-time, scalable, and comprehensive academic assistance integrated with leading AI models. Now, let's explore how Class Buddy simplifies learning. With our platform, instead of sifting through endless materials, you can simply ask to the point question. Just ask, what will I learn in this course? It searches all documents, video files, text files, PDFs, and presentations to find exactly where that information was mentioned. Let's delve into the features that make Class Buddy a game changer. Seamless integration. Our platform offers seamless integration with many LMS systems, including Blackboard, Canvas, Brightspace, Panopto, Zoom, Cornerstone, Google Classroom, and more. Effortless academic support. Experience unified data sourcing and course scheduling for a smooth academic journey. AI-powered assistance. Utilize our GPT Builder and advanced AI capabilities to enhance your academic experience. Personalized teaching assistant. Professors can easily customize virtual teaching assistant with prompt templates for engaging interactions. Interactive learning. Engage in lively class discussions with conversation starters and benefit from our feedback mechanism for comparative insights. Efficient resource management. Simplify file storage and organization with our Builder file storage feature, ensuring all resources are readily accessible in one place. Now let's unveil the benefits of Class Buddy. Class Buddy offers interactive lessons, quizzes, and virtual classrooms for fun and effective learning. Teachers can create customized plans, track progress, and give feedback easily. Class Buddy is accessible anytime, anywhere, on any device. Join the Class Buddy community today and experience the future of education. Visit classbuddy.ai and start your journey to a brighter future.
And this is live and working, and the students are utilizing this. So the course on top of which Class Buddy is built on top of is called Operations Management. So the questions that we're going to ask would be specific to this course. I'm going to show you 3 different categories of questions here. So the first category that we'd be targeting are the frequently asked questions. Right. So let's see, curious about student groups. Right. So this question basically asks like, what are the student groups? If you want to like make a group for a presentation or an assignment, which students are the ones that you can create a group with? You can see that currently it's telling you about a bunch of ways you can create student groups, right? So there can be cultural groups, there could be service-based groups, sports and recreations-based groups. So it depends on the category of students that you want to interact with and get your grouping done with. Now I'm going to ask a question which is a bit more specific. So I am going to go with a question that students would usually be shy to ask their teachers or their TAs is, right. So how can I score an A in the class? That's something you won't particularly ask someone out of like the embarrassment of not being tagged as a nerd. So you can see here that it's giving you a bunch of different ideas on how you can maintain an A grade. It's not just about go through your books, go through your presentation, and you'll get an A. No. It's telling you that you need to stay motivated, you need to get better feedbacks, you need to maintain your health in that matter of fact, right? Which is something that nobody would tell you, right? Nobody tells that you need to maintain your health to get an A, but it's very important. Now we can go a bit more specific and ask a question that's more specific to the course. So in operations management, we have something called Little's Law. I'm going to ask it to explain what Little Law is. So you can see that it would be explaining A to Z of what Little's Law is, the applications, conditions, added example on top of it, everything. So this is how the virtual TA works. Now we can move towards the GPT builder that I told you was meant for the administration purposes. Right, so there are a few suggested questions that the teachers can add that, okay, these are the questions that are highly asked, so they can make a template out of it and create those questions as the FAQs. Then this file storage is where they can maintain the like the files that they taught. They can update their content and keep adding the information without like having the hustle of going through like creating everything in the very start and then just uploading it once. So the model keeps getting iterated and better trained on the new and the modern information that's being provided. Yes. No, they're free to upload any information that they want. PDFs, presentations, videos, quizzes, Word, Microsoft Word files, right? So file format doesn't really matter here. And now the important bit that gives an insight on the students to the teachers is the response history. So this is something that usually is asked, like it provides the, it invades sort of the privacy of the students. So this is the student that I was logged in by. That is usually pondered upon, right? It is something, why should the teacher be able to see what the students were searching? So it gives you two ideas, right? So the students, they're supposed to be checked, right? What are the students doing? So this, like you asked the question, like, can the student ask for papers? So, right, this gives you an idea of what's going on inside the head of your student. So the teachers need to monitor that. There should not be a very strict boundary between what a student is asking the class buddy versus to what the class buddy is telling that student. And then the second thing is that the teachers are not always able to get a very formal or like a responsive feedback from the students. A lot of students are not interested in providing feedbacks to their teachers, or as a matter of fact, no matter which organization we're talking about or whichever hierarchical structure we're talking about, the juniors are not always there to provide their feedbacks to the seniors. So this response history gives us that idea that, okay, what is going on inside their mind? Like, what sort of information are they looking forward to? What are they, like, what do they want to ask? What are the most common questions? So you can see that it maintains the history student-wise. Like, okay, this student asked about the curious student, student group, how can I score an A, and so on and so forth. So this is how the GPT builder works. If there are any questions in this part, we can answer them, otherwise we move forward.
Models. So if one sentence is generated and there is only one part of it is wrong, would you consider it altogether wrong, or would you consider it like partly wrong? So these gray areas are also there, that how far your model is or how much training do you need it. So as we were discussing about it, that first 3 weeks time would be to create something that you can look at in your system, integrate it like an application. Afterwards, if you talk about performance, it could again take 2 to 3 weeks. And that really depends. If there is an old data, which is already in the system, you might actually need 1 week time. But if your data is increasing, for example, in this case, there is operation management course. Now consider a different course, which is linear algebra. That's a mathematics now, right? So the content of the courses is very different. But if something is on top of it, like information system, which is close to operation management, so proximity is closer, less time would be required. So it really, a classical cliched answer, it depends. But then actually it depends, because how far your data is, it would require that much time to train. So estimated time is again 3 weeks more effort and then 3 weeks more effort. At Royal Cyber, what we do is that we take first 3 weeks and then we again take like 3 weeks or 1 month time, so that we can actually see how our result or our solution is improved. And on top of it, we take the feedback from our clients. So that's the idea.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Say what as of today. So you have a version as of today, and in the meantime, there is a sandwich come up between the two different courses. How does ChatBuddy handle this?
So basically, Class Buddy, it has a model which is iterative. So when new versions of the courses are coming, we eradicate the previous information so that there's no hallucination based on the old data. And then we retrain it based on the new information that you've provided, right? Based on whatever is coming new. Because you can't keep making it work on the old information, because that would create hallucinations. Ideas change, topics change within education sector or in any sector for that matter of fact.
You said you will eradicate. Is this the teachers who's doing it? Because they are the
No.
ones who are maintaining the LMS.
No, the teachers would just be removing the files, which they regularly do in an LMS system. Then the LLM, once the file is removed, the LLM is aware that, okay, this content of data, it's no more part of my training data. Like, it's not something that I need in my system any longer. So that
What if-
part would be removed.
What if some courses have references of the old researchers which have been done? So it's again up to the teachers to maintain it for the students.
The content is up to the teachers to maintain, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think that data would be adding to. I think I'm already. Won't you think that data is already, adding to the repository where class buddy can learn more from based on the historical data? So if you remove them, don't you think that this data set is getting smaller and smaller?
No, what you're saying is absolutely correct, but courses are very specific, especially when we're talking about a university scenario. You are not talking about a generalized buddy. You're talking about something that's specific to what is being taught in the class, in that semester. So if you keep adding all those previous repositories, maybe the teacher changed the content completely, but the idea came from the last class, right? So you were, let's say, talking about neural nets, and the idea of neural nets that the teacher taught in this class is completely different from what was delivered in the previous one. So why would you want your students to be confused between two ideas? Because when the bot will, or when the assistant would get the answer out for you, it would use the keyword search, right? It would understand that how close is what to the query that the student has asked. So it would be fetching answers, though it would be referencing that, okay, this is coming from the version, the previous version, this is coming from the current version. It would make the reference, but that would confuse your student. So this is something that can be controlled, depending on who your end user is. For students, I believe it is better to keep the current information rather than providing them with a whole repository of past, previous, all sort of information.
Okay. But honestly, I tend to differ a bit from here.
No, I believe
Because the data is your asset actually. The more you have it, the more precise answers you can get. Yes, you're right. The students can get confused because every teacher has its own ways of giving the answers.
yes.
But like you said, it will give a reference for the last year and this year. So it's up to me. I can choose that definition or this definition. But I know that this teacher is responding to that. But anyhow, but I am sure you would have some option to keeping the historical data as
Definitely.
well, because
Definitely.
that you are not going to anyway lose it.
Definitely. Like, that is what I said in the start. It's completely up to the content that the teacher is designing. So if they want to keep the previous content as part of the knowledge base as well, it would remain there. That depends on how the teacher wants the flow to be. How is the content designed by the teacher?
Okay.
I just want to add one thing. We are coming in an age where there was less information and I don't know culture versus a culture that we know too much. There is abundance of information on internet. So because of that, when model is already trained on a huge data set, then there is a chance that it would hallucinate. So imagine a kid who would know chemistry, biology, and chemistry and all those subjects all together would actually make more mistakes than the one who is actually more focused on one area. And another case you could think about is that we have editions of new book, like calculus is revisited every now and then. And that previous version is not kind of abundant or obsolete, but is rectified. And you can always go back for your references to the previous version, but that new version is actually more desirable. So it's professor's call if they believe that some book has this kind of a an amazing diagram that is not part of this one. So they can update that information in course as a reference point to the previous course. So in that sense, it depends on, we have given the final control to professor for a reason. As I said, that AI won't be doing anything at its own. It's at the end of a day a human call, right? So that's the idea of this whole conversation.
Okay. Now we'll be looking into application overview. I've already showed you a demo, but I want to show a bit more in detail on how things actually work. So here's the scenario. There's two different students with two different questions, right? The first one's asking about what we learned in the AI class today, and the other one, it wants to explore the contents of last week. Now this question goes to class buddy. The class buddy then goes to the knowledge base. And like I told you, the knowledge base maintains all sorts of data. So the lectures, presentations, any sort of notifications, tips and techniques by the teachers, quizzes, assignments, like anything, any format goes into the knowledge base, which can be built on top of like Canvas, OneDrive, anything, basically what you want it to be integrated with. Then it matches that query against the documentation that it has. And then it retrieves the relevant knowledge, right? So it's going to match that, okay, which presentation was presented today, what is the date today, and what was the date last week, and what was the content from last week. And then it's going to fetch that information based on the relevant retrieval. And then it's going to pass that information out in the form of answers to the students. Now, this is something that you can completely modify on your own, right? If you want a descriptive answer, you can ask it to provide you with a descriptive answer. If you want a summarized answer or an answer in keywords, bullets, like whichever format that you want the answer to be in, that can be modified by the student. It only depends on how you're asking the question. So it was a very basic question. What did we learn in the class today? Again, and a very basic answer is produced against it. Like we learned about neural networks and deep learning applications. And same goes for the next question. It was a very to-the-point question. What did we explore last week? And it's given you the names of the topics that we discussed last week. Now, if you want description out of these answers, you just ask it to provide me with a bit of a description on what we read. And it's going to give you the description of that. So everything is modified based on how you ask the class buddy the questions. So that's all for class buddy. And now I'm going to give the stage to... Oh, this question. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, class buddy would be specific to the subject that the student is studying.
Yep. Yes.
Based on these two questions right now, student one asked, what did we learn in AI class today, which he's very much specifying on this class. But the other one is asking about what key concepts did we understand.
Learn last week?
Now, but seeing both these answers, they're almost giving you similar answers to it. But now here I'm thinking that, is class buddy not integrating with my other subjects at the same time? Or is it only just seeing one subject?
So right now, as I told you, class buddy is integrated with a single subject, but you can integrate it with as many subjects as you want.
Under one user.
Under one user,
student.
Exactly.
Under one student with
Exactly.
all the classes that he has mixed combined. So if he asks a general question like this, so I'm expecting that
it would provide the answers of all the courses that
All the
the student is enrolled in and getting all the answers likely.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? No. Okay.
So now we are moving towards next case study, which is Proclaim. Before Soeb jumps in, this project is actually 2 years with us. We started this one when we were talking about pipelines and their integrations, cleaning ETLs and all those stuff. And then it kind of developed into finding a fraud detection case, that whether this claim is fraudulent or not. It was very basic classification problem. And then it again evolved recently, past 6 months ago, into a GenAI project. So what do I mean by that? That initially we started working with large language models, and on top of it, we also started working with audio data, because it's an insurance case study where your car is actually kind of broken and you are at a spot. You don't want to fill an application. You might want to send a simply voice note, or maybe you want to just take a picture of your car and just attach with your voice note, or maybe you want to just being too lazy and you want to again take a video of that 2 minutes video of your car condition and you want to share it with your company. So these actually become like 4 different domains. A data could come in form of text, it could come in a form of an audio, could be an image, or could be a video, even a combination of all or some of those parts, depending on the customer, on their situation. Again, it solves a lot of problems, but on technical side, we actually work with multi-models because all those 4 cases are actually working under the same application and their efficiency shouldn't be disturbed because we don't want that. So we are not using LLM model, we are on top of it using Whisper, we are using video, we are using image processing. All of them are combining and eventually serving to the product. Beauty is that we don't know what user would be asking. So whatever query or data would come into it, inference point is so efficient that it not only would pick it up, but in second would respond to that. So Sohaib would actually give you a demo. He's working with us for more than a year on this one. He's really hands-on. So Sohaib, over to you.
Thank you, Hassan, for the introduction. Before jumping into the demo part, I would like to have a story actually. So I'm considering myself in Saudi Arabia, and let's suppose I am traveling from one city to another, or maybe within this Riyadh city, and I have met an incident, right? I'm having an accident of my car. Maybe there is a car who hit from the back, and what I have to do now, right? So there is a company in Saudi Arabia that is known as Najm, right? What I do is I call the representative from Najm, and the representative would come to the scene of the incident, and he or she makes the report of that incident. So what actually happened in the incident and who was on the fault, right? So meanwhile, the representative is coming on the scene of the incident. I'm not allowed to move my vehicle, right? So in the meanwhile, like the representative might take around 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes to reach upon the like scene of the incident, right? So just imagine during that time how much traffic flow I will be disturbing at that moment, right? And once the representative is at the scene of the incident and I have the incident report, what I do is I take that incident report to another institute or the organization that is a Taqdeer Center. And what they do is actually they make a damage report out of that incident, or by using the, you can say, the report generated by the Najm representative. So they make a damage report of the vehicle, what were the parts that were damaged, and what might be the possible cause of the cost of, you can say, repair or the, you can say, of the claimant. Once I have that report, I take the incident report and the, you can say the damage report or the cost estimation report from the Taqdeer Center, and I take it to my insurance company. Once I give them the documents, what they do is actually it's their call whether to accept my claim or reject it. And then there is a third option, right? In our Jeddah event, we met actually a representative from a workshop. He was working with a group of companies who were dealing with those like damage reports. And what they do is actually they have to make a decision, right? When a damaged car comes to their, you can say, workshops, they whether repair it, they like say okay, and then they have an option like when they have the cost estimation, they have to make a decision whether this car is repairable or not. Let's suppose the car, the value of the car is around 5,000 real, or maybe just an idea like 20,000 reals, and the cost of repair is around 30,000 reals. So in that case, what they do is they just reject the claim and they say, okay, just forget about the repair. We'll pay you the money of the car and you can just buy a new one, right? So in that case of scenario, that is the third scenario. Just imagine we have to go through 3 different, you can say, representatives, and at each step, there is a manual processing that is involved for each center. So if we talk about the limitations of this whole life cycle and the whole process, we can see there is a lot of, you can say, processing delays, because of the, you can say, just think about the Najam representative. He might be reaching at the scene of the incident in maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes, causing the processing delay. Then there might be some overhead to different representative or the agents that is also causing the delay in my processing time. Right. Then there is limited customer engagement. There might be some people who want to know about the status of their claim, and they will be calling different, you can say, organization, and they will be saying, what is the status of my claim, right? So there might be around 50 people or 100 people calling at the same day, and they might have to wait in the queue for them for before getting the answers about their claim status. Then obviously there is a manual processing that is involved at each step. Then there is lack of automation. Then obviously due to the humans involvement, this whole process is more prone to you can say human errors, right? Then obviously then there is manual processing and inconsistent data formats involved due to different organization. We need a solution. By using them, we can process different kind of documents that is relevant to the claim industry, or a document in or an insurance industry. We can process different claims that can be in the form of emails, PDFs, maybe you can say medical inpatient forms, right? So just imagine you have a document of like 40 to 50 pages and you want to process it, and there's an agent who has to read all of the 50 pages, right? So it's a very difficult and a hideous process for that human, right? Just imagine you have a system where you upload that document and you get only the relevant information that you want to see, right? You get like 2 or 3 liner summary of that whole document. You get all of the key data points. Let's say who is the insured person, right? What is his or her policy number? What is the amount that was claimed? And maybe what is the contact details or the address of that person, right? So you get all of the key data points instead of going through all of the 50 pages and then making a summary out of it, okay, what that document is about, right? So we need that solution. And then about the audio processing, we are talking about the call center agents. They have to deal with multiple calls all day, right? And if you are a customer, you are calling a representative in a company to know about your status, and just imagine you have to wait in the queue for like maybe 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and the representative, they tell you, or the computer, it tells you that your number in the queue is 10, right? It means like there are 9 people who are in the queue before like you are served, or your answers, or your queries are responded, right? So just imagine before moving to an agent, you have something. What it does is you tells your query to that system. What it does is it actually extracts the information, the key data points from your query or your call, and before moving you to an agent, it tries to find the answers to your question. Let's say if you're asking about the status of your claim, and you have mentioned your claim number, right? What it does, the agent tries to get the information of your status, and it tells you that this is the status of your claim, right? Whether it is approved or it is rejected, right? So all of these things, then we need a system which can generate automated damage reports of the vehicles. What are the parts that were damaged during the incident, and what is the status of the whole incident, right? The incident report and the damage report. What we can do is we can achieve it by using Proclaim, right? So this is a solution that Dr. Hassan also mentioned about. We are working on it, and we have completely covered all 4 verticals of the generative AI, including the document processing, audio analysis, image analysis, and the video analysis. And on the top of it, we have also created an assistant or an agent who responds to the queries of the agents and the customers, right? It's kind of a chatbot. It's a chatbot icon, but it's an advanced generative AI assistant, right? So let's quickly jump into the live demo of this solution, and let's see what it does actually. Pressure. So that's how the dashboard of Proclaim looks like. Here you can see that it has details of your users. Then the number of the claims that are in progress, then number of rejected claims out of the total claims, and the number of claims that are settled by our organization. Then there is a claim graph that depicts the numbers about the total claims and the revenue that was generated for by processing those claims. Then there is a pie chart that shows the distribution about the type of the claims, which states that 60% of the claims are relevant to the auto industry, then 15% are relevant to the travel, 10% are relevant to the medical claims, and then 15% are relevant to the health, right? And then there are the details of, so you can say, some of the users and what is the status of their claims, right? So let's jump on to the first module of Proclaim, which is document analyzer. So as the name suggests, what it does is actually you just upload a document in any format, like the PDF, Word, or any other format. You just don't tell it what that document is, right? It automatically classifies that document for you, and it processes it and extract the key data information from that document. Let's just upload a file. So simply upload it. So once you click upload, you can see that all of the content from that document, it is extracted, right? So once the document has been processed and the content is extracted, you just simply click on the Analyze Now button, and it starts processing. Takes around like maybe 5 to 10 seconds to process the complete information in the document. It generates different, you can say, data points for you, right? So let's see about the data points, what it generates. Yeah, depends on the internet, obviously, because like when you are uploading this document, it is uploaded to a data store, right? In our case, it is Azure like object store, Azure Blob Storage. So once the document is uploaded there, then the LLM is applied on that document to extract the information and generate the summary. So here you can see that it has successfully classified this document as it is a claim status update. And the type of this document is an email, right? So it's an email written by a person called David Johnson, right? So if we want to see the summary of the complete email or the document, you can see a 3-liner summary of this document, that this is an email from David Johnson who requests an update on the status of his health insurance. The claim number is 323417, submitted after a major surgical procedure, expressing concerns over the delay in reimbursement and asking for expedited review and feedback, right? So here you can see all of the data points that we needed, or an insurance or a claim agent needs, including the insured person's name, the insurer name, the claim number, the location, demanded amount in the claim, date of the loss, and obviously phone number and the policy number of that, you can say, the person, right? So like before I move to the next module, you can see there is a chatbot that is also enabled. Once I have analyzed this document, I can simply click on this one and I can start asking any queries or questions about this document. So now this assistant, it is automatically, you can say, content aware of this document, what is in this document, and I can start asking anything about this document. Let's just ask, you can say, a common question. So it's not something like that is present in the document, but it's kind of a, you can say, a logical answer, a logical question, right? Is David a regular customer? It takes a second and it responds, yes, David is a regular customer of Insure.ai, as he mentions being a policy holder with them and has a policy number also. So it means that only the customers has the policy number, and he mentions about his own status. That's why he said that, yeah, he's a regular customer. So moving to the second module, which is audio analyzer, and also as the name suggests, it is about processing the audio files and performing the transcriptions on the audio files, right? So simply let's choose an audio file. I have a couple of files in my laptop. So this system, it supports the audio file in the format of like WAV or MP3, right? So you can upload any MP3 or a WAV file on this system, and it will start transcribing the information in that is present in that audio or MP3 or a WAV file. So it take a couple of seconds, depending upon obviously the internet speed, right? So once the audio is uploaded, the transcription, it takes around like 5 to 10 seconds, and it extracts all of the information from that audio file. So meanwhile, the audio is being uploaded. Let me just open the audio file, which I just uploaded.
This is Joshua. How may I help you today? Well, I've been dealing with this issue since last June, and I really need your help. Let me get all the facts down for you. So I was in a car accident, and what happened was a car pulled out of his driveway, and to avoid hitting that oncoming car, I swerved and sideswiped another car, and my car got messed up. I called your insurance company, and they said I would get a $600 payout and a courtesy car while we investigated the case. Since then, I haven't heard from you guys nor have I gotten a payout. It's really frustrating. Everything is at stake right now, my job and my finances.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for letting us know about your case. We do apologize for all the inconvenience this led.
So you can get an idea that like it's not pretty much a clear audio. It also has some noise at the background. So what the system is doing is it's actually removing the noise at the background, and then it is performing the transcription so that it has the clean data, right? So let me just pause the audio here, and you can see the content of that audio file. It is extracted in the form of a text, right? So it's an you can say an English based audio. So all of the content here is extracted, and there is an interesting thing about this audio. If you just notice the name of the, you can say the insured person, it is kind of you can say a Mexican kind of a name, Maxira Perez, right? So just see that like the Maxira and Perez, it also has extracted the accent out of it, right? So if you know about it, that the people who are Mexican or maybe Italian or Spanish, their name is in their own accent, and there are some special characters in their language, right? So it also has extracted that pattern from this audio file as well. So let's just analyze the data out of it. And let me play.
I may have caused you, but could you kindly tell me your full name so that I can address you properly? Maritza Perez. Maritza Perez. Okay, Maritza. Maritza, could you kindly tell me the incident number that was assigned for your case? PKS 72 96 54. Okay, that's good. Great. Please hold on. I'll pull it up to take a look and see the resolution.
We got the complete details of this audio file. The classification states that it is a claim status inquiry. So the lady, she has called the agency to know about the status of her claim, and obviously the type of this document is a call transcription, right? The summary states the complete information about the call, like what this call was about and what was asked in this call. The call transcription reveals a policyholder's complaint about not receiving a promised payout after a car accident, but the insurance representative explains that due to evidence of the policyholder's reckless driving, the claim does not meet the company's coverage requirement, right? So he's trying to tell the female that your claim is actually not accepted, right? It's rejected due to the policy. And if you have a look at the key data points, you can see that the insured person name, it has extracted the name in a proper manner, or the complete accent of the name, right? Then the insurer or the company's name is Premier's Car Insurance Agency. The claim number is TKS 7296514, and that is the demanded amount by the claimant, right? So let's just move on to the assistant, and let's just interact with the assistant about the audio, right? So let's just ask an other logical kind of a question, right? So this happens sometimes due to the internet. Simply let me copy and paste it. Yeah. Yeah. So meanwhile, this is generating an answer. Let me open the third module for you, because like internet is hitting in a weird manner. Yeah, there you go. So the agent was initially helpful and empathetic, but become dismissive and unhelpful when the client's case did not meet the requirement for the coverage, right? So by using this system, you can quickly get an idea about how your, you can say, employees, they are responding to the customer queries, right? Whether they are good with the customer base or not, right? It will help the, you can say, management to make a decision about different employees and make their, you can say, reports. So let's just move on to the third module, which is image analyzer, and that is for generating the damage reports, right? So let's just upload an image on this. There you go. So by the image, you can get an idea that it's, the car is in a pretty much bad shape, and like being a human, even I am not even able to recognize the complete license plate of this vehicle, right? So let's quickly analyze it. It will take around 5 to 10 seconds. Again, the reason for the delay is due to the internet, right? So there you can see like the complete damage or the incident report. You can see the car make and model. It states it's a BMW 3 Series. If we talk about the damage extent, it states that the airbag is not visible, and it's unable to confirm about the deployment, because you cannot confirm it from that angle. But if you are going to upload the image from different angles, then the system will surely be able to respond to those queries as well, right? If we talk about the bumper, it states that it's detached, fenders are damaged, front end has severe damage, grill is also destroyed, headlights are broken, hood is crushed, and wheel axles are potentially damaged, right? So by using these details, you can get an idea, okay, what are the parts that needs to be replaced of the vehicle. So by using this information, you can create an cost estimation report of the incident as well, right? So if we move further, you can also see that a possible cause of the incident is maybe the impact with a stationary object at a high speed, and weather details as well, right? So some of the people, while claiming their insurance, they say that my incident was due to maybe slippery road in the snowy areas, if they are in America or Canada region, and they are like, okay, my incident was due to slippery road. So it has also extracted the details of the weather as well, right? So let's just move on to the fourth module, which is about video, right? So let's just upload a video on this. There you go. So there you go. This is the video actually that I just uploaded. you want to have a look at it. So by this video, you cannot get an idea about the license plate or maybe the airbags, but you can see that the car is in pretty much bad shape, right? So it will take some time to upload because the same process is happening at the back end. The video is uploaded to a data store, which is Azure object store in that case. And once the video is uploaded on that object store, the analysis happens on the video, right? It extracts the complete information from that video and generates the damage report out of this video, right? It's taking some time. So meanwhile, it's generating the report. If you have any questions, maybe you can ask the queries, and meanwhile the report is generated. Any questions? Yeah, it's uploaded. So let's just analyze it. So it can generate the report. Meanwhile, it's generating the report. Yeah, any queries? One picture at a time you can upload on this system, but if you want a more detailed report, the video will be a better option, right? Because yes, you are right. So for that case, it will be better if you are uploading a video from like you can say you upload a video with a 360 angle of the car,
one,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So it extracts all of the information of the damage and what are the parts that were damaged during that incident, right?
And in the first scenario where you uploaded a Word document, what are the types? It supports PDF and other things also?
Yeah, it supports the Word document, text, PDFs, right? So it supports all of the, you can say, the document formats. And right now, this is relevant to the, you can say, the insurance industry, right? But just imagine like you have your own organizational policy documents. You can utilize those documents, and you can have a system that is specifically relevant to your organization's document. You can modify it to that part as well.
Okay.
Any other question?
Can we use streaming data here? Like coming from Kafka or somewhere?
Yeah, we can use streaming data, but the point is that you will not be achieving the real-time results with this model because these are the LVMs at the back end, right? So in order to have you can say a streaming analysis on a streaming data, you have to go with the computer vision models that are applied on the, you can say, your specific case, because these are generalized models, the LVMs, right? They can cater different kind of, you can say, videos or different scenarios. Like they can make the damage reports. If you want to, you can say, extract different information, like you upload the video and you want to ask it like extract the graphy from the back of the incident or the wall, right? So it extracts the information for you. But if you are talking about the streaming data and you want to analyze your videos in that manner, then computer vision or the legacy image processing models, that would be the better option. That will be specifically customized for your, you can say, use case.
So it's true and doable.
Yeah, it is doable.
Okay.
Yes, this is Nafa Katani. I would like to ask you, to what extent do you think the such model will be able to identify the hidden damages?
Okay, so it's a very good question, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want to extract the damages that are hidden from the video, right? So for that case, you will have to upload actually the video. Actually, if the model is not seeing anything, it is not able to detect that information, right? But by using its intelligence, it can tell, okay, by this angle, I can say that the engine is completely damaged. Not only the, you can say, the front part of the image, the front part of the engine, but you need the complete replacement of the engine. It can tell you that. But if you ask it about, what about the dashboard of the car, right? From this angle, you are not able to see the dashboard actually, right? But if you are uploading a video which also has the information or the frames about the inside of the car or the dashboard, then it will extract those information for you as well, right?
I'm assuming a lot of data to be trained, huh?
Yeah, no, you don't need to actually, give all of the information, right? So but it depends what is the information that you are providing to that LVM, right? the more information you provide, it will give you a more accurate answer, and it will extract more data points from that video for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So before moving on to the next question, we can see the damage report, right? So the license plate is not visible, mileage information is not available because we don't have the information or the frames from the inside of the car. About the weather, it says that the weather is overcast and there is dry pavement in the weather, right? If we talk about the damage assessments, airbag is not visible, obviously. The engine has possible damage from this angle. As you can see that there is a damage at the radiator and other things. But about the engine, it is also suggesting that there are some damages to the engine as well, right? Your point. Yeah, it tells. So yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, if you are integrating more data sources or providing it more data, then it can utilize that data as well. About the lat and log, if you have integrated the sensors of the different vehicles with that system, it can extract the lat long of the incident. It can extract the exact time of the incident. It can extract, okay, at that time, what was the weather, whether it was cloudy, it was raining, it was snowy, at that time and at that place, right? So the more information you need to provide it with like more data.
So in that context, then I can pull the data from spatial imaging and see the traffic data.
Yeah, you can do that. But from this image, you cannot get an idea about like
of course,
what
it's
is
limited
the time
to some extent, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but and also about the location, right? So the weather might be different in one region of the Riyadh, and it might be different in other region of the Riyadh. So the location is also very important in that case. In this image, like it looks like you can say a generic street which can be at any place in the Riyadh or any place in the US, right? But if you have the pinpoint information of the location, then you will be able to actually, you can say, accurately extract the information about the weather as well by using that location details.
I mean, some of my questions are related to the ministry of what we are thinking. So in this case, spatial data, we are looking at the Google Maps or Esri and get the data from there. So it's possible, but you need to increase your. Okay.
Yeah, we need to integrate it. And like, if you want to discuss about these, you can say your use case. We can have a discussion like
Sure.
after the session as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So the missing information can be about the location, lat long, and the time, right? Yeah. Okay. So for that, what insurance companies can do, they can install some devices or the tracking system. What they does actually in mostly in the insurance companies, what they are doing is they are installing the tracking systems in their car or the vehicle of the customers, if the customer agrees to it, obviously. So by using those sensors, if the customer has met an incident, those sensors can generate the data for the company, right, or the insurance company, and that data can be integrated with that system that tells the exact time of the incident, the lat and long of the incident, and by using those data points, we can get the weather information.
And is that available here in the system, or it has to be manually uploaded?
Okay. So in that case, the license plate needs to be in the video, right, so that you are uploading. But because of the like incident or the hit scenario, the license plate might be displaced or it was like broken. Yeah, it's missing now.
How the company will get this information? But you mentioned this is for the agent who's working on the claim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they are assessing. They have all the documentation.
Yeah.
All they need to do is upload it, and your agent should be able to read it and bring it here. Is that possible?
Yeah, that is possible, but in that case, the customer also needs to, tell the agent that this is my license plate number.
Not necessary. That's what I'm saying. Who's doing this when you're uploading the images and it's your agent?
Yeah,
As per the policy, the agent has the plate number of the car, registrations, all the insurance documents available. So probably he can just upload. The only thing is you're as making a report based on an image or a video. Can you embed the documents from the repository?
Yes.
Can they bring that and concise report can be provided?
So one way is that, as you're saying, that whatever information is missing, agent can actually fill it out. So that's definitely like a one way. But over here, what customer is sending you, like as an image, of course, customer could do like a double check or a due diligence afterwards. That's possible. But idea of this application is that when you're using as an insurance company, you are saving time from the customer side. So customer shouldn't be waiting that long. But if you need some extra work, like imagine in a manual case, when you have some cases where things are ambiguous, you take more time, of course. So in that case, if this information of number plate is missing or other information is missing, that could easily become an anomaly. But there would be like a 90% data where this won't be the case. I hope that cars are not broken always like this one. This is like a really bad case scenario. So most of them get few scratches and number plates are there, information is there, but those cases are resolved actually take longer time or same amount of time as this case. So this should be an anomaly. This should be like 2% out of that 98% cases. So the normal cases would be actually sorted out much quicker, and these cases will take time. And gentleman is right over here that agent can definitely fill the information. So in that case, we will again go back to some sort of manual throttling, but that would be very less case. So if 98% cases are actually time efficient and are automated, only 2% cases are still would require some manual adjustment. I would still consider it a pretty good victory for company, right? But very, very good question, I think. Thank you.
So let's have a look at the damage assessment. It says the airbags are not visible. Engine, there is a possible damage on the engine as well. Fenders, front bumper is destroyed. Front end, then the headlights, hood is crumpled, radiator is likely damaged. Wheels, front wheel, right wheel is severely damaged, right? And another thing, like how many of you have guessed about the make and model of this vehicle, right? From this video, even I am being a human, I am not able to judge what is the make and the model of this car, right? But good thing is AI has done this for you, right? It has extracted the vehicle information for you, right? It says the color of the car, it has extracted the make, it is Mercedes-Benz, and the model is S-Class, right? So AI can be like better in some scenarios as well, right? So that's about it from my side. If you have any other query, you can ask, or otherwise, like, we'll have a short break of like.
So myself, Jitin. So I'm part of Google and working as a customer engineering lead, like leading the data analytics and AI, including GenAI for KSA. That's about me. I'll be discussing today about like how GenAI is reshaping the customer's journey in KSA. So I think because I'm working closely with a lot of the enterprise customers from Google, including bigger customers like Aramco, SEC, and so on, I am happy to share some of my experiences and how the region is focusing on GenAI and how the investments are happening and what are the different use cases that customers are interested in investing, which will give you more ideas and thoughts around it. That's what I'm just planning for next 15 to 20 minutes. So before we get started, I have 3 questions for you. Okay, so let us make it more interactive. So the first question is like, how many of you use large language models? 1, 2, 3. Okay. How many of you use Gmail? Okay. So when you use Gmail, have you got a chance to work on large language models? Do you know you have large language models enabled in Gmail? How many of you know that? How many of you used it? So if in case you haven't used it, what you can do is when you are having your personal account on Gmail, just open your mail. You can see there is an icon with a symbol called pen. Just click onto that and you can ask any questions. Let us assume that you received an email from a CEO of an organization or from many of the businesses, or it can be like you're planning to write an email to somebody. Just write in English what you wanted. Write an email response for this mail. It'll compose everything for you. Just copy, paste, send. This is what we are doing in Google now. Okay. So any mails, most of the mails, I can say 80% of the mails that you're receiving from Google today is by large language models. We are not spending time in writing any mails. Okay, that is the first thing. So if in case you're not utilizing any of the large language models, regardless of whether you're working in technology or not, there is a possibility for you. And there are a lot of products available as open source or free products available in the market, which you can still go and explore it. So if in case you're planning to build your own organizations, flyers or something, Canvas is there. Again, Canvas is powered by Gemini. Okay, so anyways, I'm not going to talk anything about Gemini today, unless otherwise you have any specific question. I'm going to talk in generic. So as I mentioned, we will talk about how GenAI is reshaping customers' experience in KSA. To start with, this is a very interesting slide which I strongly believe, and I have seen these results in the market first of all, right? So what we have seen is the customer service productivity has increased around 14% in KSA using the GenAI capabilities. And very interesting number. This is a number which is very specific to KSA. Even 80% is not something which is met even in USA. So 80% of Saudi consumers are interested in AI chatbots. Okay, and 72% of the consumers they want a personalized experience. So when I talk about personalized experience, I'll be talking very specifically because so far I was listening a lot of discussions the team was providing here, chatbots. So there are multiple versions of chatbots. And there are persona-based chatbots, there are avatar-based chatbots, there are different offerings today. And this is what the customers are utilizing for different use cases in different industries, starting from retail to your oil and gas, even into CPG, sports, wildlife, everywhere. GenAI is used in one of the different way, right? And we are also found that 20% of revenue increase has happened because of GenAI. So you can imagine how fast things are happening. As Dr. Hassan said, nobody's losing the job. It is we are making the systems more productive so that instead of spending time for 3 to 4 hours, it's now become 5 minutes or in less than 5 minutes for you to do things. So customers' expectations when it comes when it comes to any business, it's always very crucial to have the customer experiences, regardless of whether you are coming from a retail industry or a manufacturing industry, or is it hospitality or whatsoever it is, right? So when it comes to customer expectations, there are a couple of interesting things. One is everybody expect a personalized interaction, and they always wanted to know that the interactions are very seamless. So let me give you a simple example. So how many of you use Saudi Airlines for your trip? So you all used it. Very good. So have you used their chatbot? So use their chatbot, right? So now the new version which they are going to launch, it is completely powered by Avatar. So right now we already started working on that module with the GenAI power. So what the customer's expectation is, for example, today when I go and do a check-in, what is expected is you're expecting me to give me the information like passport number or some information which is related to the booking references or so. So now what it is expecting is very simple. You give us any one information. It's not necessary you have to give all the informations, right? If it is only passport, if you are giving, or if in case you are giving your ICAMA ID, or even if you are giving your photographs. So that is the extent which you are going to see next, right? So you will just give your image, because if you are a regular user of this particular app, Saudi Airlines, it will detect your information completely. So because nobody today wants to spend 5 to 10 minutes in doing checkouts and check-in, because everyone every experience is seamless. So even as a user, I'm in a customer meeting and I know that my flight is at 2 o'clock and right now it's almost 10. So I don't want to log in, giving my information, where is my passport number, what is the flight number? No. Just give one input, it will fetch all the information for you. That is what the kind of experiences customers are looking for. Let me also give one of the use case which we are working with one of the largest retailer here. So for example, how many of you use Noon or Jarir or in Amazon for buying your products? So you all use it, right? So I'm not talking about Amazon, but I'm talking about other customers like Noon and Jarir. So the new experiences, what they wanted to use today is that even without you guys wearing the dresses, like, by just choosing it, you just give your images, it will give you a 360 view how it looks like for you using the power of GenAI. So now you can understand how GenAI is helping the different industries. For everybody, it's like for everyone, it is more of a personalization. So for example, Jitin as a customer, when I get into the noon, I'm interested in certain clothing. I'm choosing that, and I really don't know whether it's the right fit for me or not, or how it looks for me. I really don't know. But today, this is a capability which the customers are interested to have. So that the acquisitions of acquiring the customer base will become much better. Now, and the next story which I wanted to talk about the customer's expectation is on the personalization is as I mentioned, we started with understand what the customers want. Then we will go and do the recommendation based on the personalization approach. Then we also wanted to make the experiences fun. See, for example, if I'm just getting into Jerry today, for example, and when I'm trying to purchase a product, when I'm getting a user experience seamlessly in terms of how I wanted this to be, how it looks for me, right? Or even the next version which we are working is for example, let us assume that my partner is next to me. If she's wearing this clothes, how it looks like for me. So that is extent, today businesses want the personalization to be brought into the customers, right? And finally, one of the interesting thing which I want to again highlight here is the marketing. So in marketing, there's a huge investment happens on GenAI. So let me give some of the interesting things. So this is something which Google is doing for a lot of other customers as well. So the use case is something like this. So today, for example, let us take an example of retailers. So when a new product is available within Noon or Jareer or whatsoever, it is a e-commerce customer, the first thing what they want to do is they have to upload this image. So once that is done, the next thing what they have to do is they have to build a description for this. And they also wanted to give more information about about the product, material and everything. So today with the power of GenAI, what is happening is you're just uploading an image. What it does is it will generate the description for you, first thing, based on the color, appearances and everything, which is mainly for the marketing. And second thing, what it does is you are just uploading an image with a specific color. Let us say that you uploaded a t-shirt of blue color. Now with this as an input, it can replicate 500 images for you with different configurations. So for example, you can just give a prompt saying black color t-shirt with blue color prints. Or with flowers. Now it is generating the images for you to get the attractions from the customer. So for which means you are indirectly, even though the product is there or not, you are actually building the new products for the customers based on their behaviors. That is one. Second thing what we are doing is how many of you heard about Google Ads? Google Ads, So you also know about Google Trends. So today all these are integrated with Google Marketing in GenAI. So what typically happens with this is, you can ask the knowledge engine or the marketing AI the question is it the right time to launch this product? It will give you the right answer comparing the Google Trend information based on people who are searching. For example, let us say that I have searched blue t-shirt in Google, in Google, because I'm basically living in KSA. In Riyadh. So my question is on blue t-shirt. Somebody else, maybe Tanuj could have asked a question blue t-shirt. So now all these informations are already available in Google, in the trends. Okay. Now what it does is because again, Google Trends is free for you. So when you are utilizing these capabilities, it will give you information. This is the product demand in this region, in this location. So it's right time. Even you can ask a question I'm planning to launch I can give a simple example. There is a CPG customer in the region who was planning to launch a flavored milk. They used Gemini to ask the question, I'm planning to launch this flavored milk at this season. Is it the right way to do? Google has given him an information. Don't go with this flavor. This is not going to work out. And it gives the justification why. Okay. And it also gave the information how your marketing strategy should be. So when it says the strategy, it covers across all the CPG customers in the region and the different APIs which Google itself is having, for example, and it will give the recommendation. It also builds the marketing campaign for you today. So if you're asking a question how many of you use Gemini, if I may ask you? If in case you have not used, very simple, just go and type gemini.google.com. It's free for you. You can ask any question, it'll give the information. You can ask, I want to run a marketing campaign for so and so. it will give you, these are the different sources. For example, these are the different social media, including like Twitter, Instagram, or whatsoever it is. It will say, in Twitter, run this text with this hashtag. And in LinkedIn, run this text with this hashtag. It will give you that personalized recommendations so that it actually increases your customer bases, right? And also it gives you a different analysis, like, from which geography people are viewing this particular campaign, and how much time they have visited, how much time they clicked on this, per click, per view, per time spent. So you'll be able to get those customized. And on top of that, as a business, you will also get to know the conversion ratio out of this campaign, how much clicks got converted and how many users have reached back to you. All this information you can able to make it, right? So this is another way of doing the campaign for the personalization. Now, enhanced customer service, this is where I want to spend some time. So because you already seen the different chatbots and agents whatsoever the team was discussing here. So today the main ask from the customer is that they started their journey with general Q&A, which is you'll ask a question, you'll get a response. Then we went with the RAG concept, again, with the large language models, we started building more of large language based responses. The next generation of the agents was more of an avatar based. So the reason for that is most of our customers ask in terms of we want a personalized chatbot experiences or the persona based experiences for our customers. For example, I don't want to give them an experience of a bot or agent. I want to give them the experience, I'm talking to a human being. So what we started doing was there are avatars which comes with the hardware, so which can be integrated with your applications. So for example, it'll talk like a normal human, but it is end of the day agent. It can talk around and if you're using Gemini or something, it talks around 140 plus languages. You can ask multiple questions. So I have something called multi-turn charts. So multi-turn charts is something which Google started offering, which means, let us say that you started asking a question related to HR. Suddenly you changed into sales and you started changing this into a worldwide information. It'll be able to answer it. Right? And you can also control this within the RAG itself. So for example, if you say that I wanted to restrict my information and responses only related to my data and assert, yes. And if you think no, I have to have two different loops, which means the users can come and ask me the question and it will go to my knowledge or the corpus, and the information, if it is available, it will respond back. And the second thing is if the information is not available, you are giving a luxury to the agent. It can go to the next agent, which is built within itself to check for the worldwide, in a Google search. And if this information is available, it can bring in. But again, there are customers who says if there is a security sensitive information, this needs to go to the security team first for the validation before even it comes to the user. So you can control all these things. Also, in addition to that, all the agents can have a interesting thing which is called hazardous control or the social responsibility control, which means you can put in terms of the keywords, abusers or anything harassment or anything. If you want to control it, you can control it. And again, anything which is related to social responsibility, religious, race or whatsoever it is, if you want to control it, you can always control that. So that is the flexibility it provides. And very interesting thing is that the customers also wanted to do data sharing process. So which means they don't want to limit themselves only as a chatbot. So today I did all the chats and everything. I wanted to know the summary of it. I also wanted to know the sentiment around it of the chat conversation, what I made. And finally, let us assume that if it's a data sharing process, I have some data. For example, I can give one of the customer, we work a lot, I closely work with a lot of ministries. So one of the ministry, they do the data sharing process, which means they share the data to different organizations for different purposes. So what they started doing was, in the chatbot or the agent, they will ask a question, I'm looking for this data. It will just raise a request. It will create a form or incident, or you can call it as a ticket within the system automatically, and the data will be shared directly to the user. So you don't need to go and raise a request, a formal process, no. So it's all automated process today. This is what the customers are expecting. More than a chatbot, I call this as an user experience platform. So you will start your story as a general question and answer, then you'll just move ahead with large language model approach, then you'll get into a persona base, then you'll go into an avatar base, then finally you will have a user experience platform, which means when you are starting yourself in a chatbot, the end results what you are getting is a 360 view of your customer portfolio. It's not only just chat, you will get to know what kind of questions you are getting frequently and from which location it is getting frequently and for which of the questions answers were not available within the corpus and how we can improve this. These are the different things which you can do within the language models. I'm sorry why my slide is looking like this. Okay, anyways. So beyond chatbots, what we have is like, as I mentioned, there are a lot of use cases there. So for example, in real estate industry, I can give some of the examples like I work with a lot of PAF customers in terms of entertainment and construction industry. So one of the experiences what the customers want today is that even without reaching to the property, they will be able to know the 360 view by virtualization using the GenAI power. So for example, I have chosen one of the property and using the GenAI, you can create the images on top of it. It can be the furnitures or it can be a gardening or it can be the painting or whatsoever it is, that is one. And also with the power of GenAI today, you can also do the pricing, the dynamic pricing of the property. So and also you can see what are the nearest locations where the properties are available. So today, all these are again depending on the data availability. So if you see most of the PAF customers, when they give the construction or when they build the construction, they will also have the closest property information as well. Because that is where you will realize the value, in how the next property is valuing last 10 years back and right now, and where your current property is located. And you can also customize. So one of the interesting things we shall be seeing in next couple of months is that one of the largest luxury brand in KSA has come up with an approach. The users can construct their own buildings. The same will be implemented by the property owner. So which means you can select how your property needs to be, where your hall need to be, how it needs to be. They want all this as a user experience. And if I talk about different industries, for example, manufacturing industry, where you have to see the asset lifetime value in terms of maintenance and support. So today, even the CEO can directly interact with the asset. Let me give a simple example. So CPG customers, for example, let us talk about, I'm not naming my customers. Okay, it's fine. Almarai or Nadic or whatsoever it is, they have the different refrigerators, coolers, which is provided into the different shops to keep their products. Now they wanted to understand the lifetime of the products internally as well as the lifetime of their assets, which means the equipment. So they have the sensors which is already attached with the coolers. So now the coolers are sending the data on real-time basis, where you can understand, is there is noise, which means there is a disruption or a leakage or something going to happen. And it'll also give you a recommendation. If you're not fixing it in next 2 days, it'll get a damage and it'll cost you this. So this is based on the historical information and the knowledge which is available from the vendor. So we can do that as well. And I spoke about construction industry, manufacturing. Then when it comes to life science, for example, they have a lot of drug manufacturing and the research is happening in the drug industry. So using the GenAI, they can also, for example, let us say that there is a research paper got published by one of the life science industry. So you can take this as an input and you can ask what are the new research areas I can focus on. So based on this paper, it will also give you a direction what you can invest in terms of the new research. So finally, when it comes to data-driven insights, everybody wanted to have their own customer behavior understanding, preferences and trends. And based on this, the data-driven decisions will be made. So we understand in last 4 quarters, I'm talking from the Google perspective, in the last 4 quarters, 70% of the new investments happened on GenAI, on data-driven decision making, which means now everybody forgotten the data lakes and data marts and data warehouses. Now everybody started talking about GenAI, but unfortunately people forget the basics. So without the data, you cannot do all these wonders. So GenAI will just act as an enabler. So if you wanted to get into a GenAI journey, definitely you need to have a data of good quality. First of all, data should be there, then it should be of good quality. Only then you'll be able to get the right insights, right? So building customer trust, this is very important. This is where we talk more about Gen AI, and everything. But end of the day, you should always have a customer trust. If in case you don't have this in place, it's all gone for a toss. So clear communication, which means when you're planning to use any of the customer data, there should be a clear communication to be provided to the customer. For example, Jitin as an individual, if I'm planning to give my data to the vendor, like for example, when I'm using Jareer will always ask a question: can we use your data for our marketing? So if that data is consented, use it. Otherwise, don't use it, right? And second thing is data security. So once you have the data in place, there are multiple securities today can be done. So first thing is data sovereignty, which means your data should be residing within the country, and it needs to be compliant with the regulatories, for example, NDMO when it comes to KSA. So you have to align with 15 dimensions of data, which includes your master data management, data ownership, data sharing, data security, data quality, lineage. Then you have master data there are a lot of 15 principles which everybody have to abide on to use your data. So that is one. Discrimination, like if it is related to age, gender, religion, or something that needs to be controlled. Because I closely work with some of the public sector customers. They very specifically mention this whenever, for example, we use one of the use cases recently we implemented an agent for operational team. So basically the HR team wants to filter the profiles. They don't want to go manually and check one by one profiles or something. So basically when the candidates apply for the job, automatically it will come to the object store, which is a bucket in the cloud. Now what is happening is the agent is enabled on top of this bucket. So now the HR or the recruiter does not need to go and open each profile. They can just ask an English question. Among these profiles, which are the profiles coming from KSU University or from Oxford University? It'll give that profiles. Now you can add on top of that, I'm looking for a profile with English, Arabic, and French speakers. It'll filter you by that. And even I can ask by project. So these are something which today, most of our customers are efficiently utilizing to drastically improve the productivity and to reduce the risk in terms of manual errors and efforts. So even you can ask a question today to the large language models, based on his skills, you can upload a resume and ask a question based on his experience and skills, what is the best market value I can provide? Simple. So the technology is taking good track in terms of giving more data-driven decisions. At the same time, the quality of the data needs to be good enough, right? And openness to feedback. End of the day, these are AI. So which means we cannot completely rely on them in 100%. We also need to see how the accuracies or precision and recall and what are the different metrics is what we have, how these models are improving. And it should be social safety as well. It should not because these are AI systems. So if you are losing some control on something, it will go and do whatever it is. So that we have to give the feedback onto the systems and improve it as much as frequently we can. So challenges and opportunity, mainly when it comes to GenAI things, the privacy concerns. So whenever you are using the data, because end of the day, whatever you have seen so far, including the demos and everything, there is a customer privacy involved. Right. So for example, you're talking about, I'll give simple example. So we do have a lot of implementation for the insurance companies. So what it does is it is like an agent. On real time, it will interact and it can ask a question like the video what you uploaded is not clear, just click another one. Okay. And it may also ask you if in case there is a doubt or something, click with your image. It will give the recommendations, right? So which means the data is coming along with your information itself. So the privacy controls needs to be one of the thing. And second thing is in terms of challenges, the investment happens on infrastructure. So for example, your company may have already invested on some of the assets and technologies and stacks. And when you try to integrate with the latest technology, there may be a lift and shift happens. So for example, if you're an on-premises customer, so you're already having the data centers, and when you wanted to build any new use cases, you have two options. One, moving the data from your on-premises to cloud for an efficient and a cost optimization perspective. Otherwise, you will have your own data centers where you have to add more additional cost by procuring the required hardware, because the main thing comes to AI and large language models is you need to have GPUs and TPUs, right? So because you need to have an inference and training. So to do your inference and training for large language models, you need to have TPUs. And if you are planning to have an AI machine learning story, then you will have to have a GPUs. And you all know Saudi is the largest requirement holder when it comes to GPUs and TPUs. If you go and ask Google, among the whole world, Saudi has the highest requirement of GPUs and TPUs. But unfortunately, one of the interesting things which I also want to highlight is what I have noticed personally with my customers, they always go and reserve 100 or 2000 GPUs and TPUs, but only 20% will be used. So I really don't know why they are saving and for what they are saving. Okay, so that is where the cloud kind of things will become an essential for you, because you will be just utilizing it for your need for 1 hour or 2 hours. You don't need to buy and save this GPUs and TPUs, because they are very, very costly for you. And the third thing is when you see the large language models, if I talk about GPT, from there we all went to OpenAI, GPT, then Copilot, Mistral, Falcon, then Gemini. In Gemini, even before Gemini, you had Palm 2, then you had Palm 2 wasn't there, then it came with Gemini 1.0, Gemini 1.5, Ultra, Nano, Pro, Flash. You will have today more than 2,000, 3,000 models. Now, how efficiently are you going to use these models for your use case and business is also very important, because there is no one fine model that can fit for everything. The model which is used working for Al Rajhi Bank will not work for D360 Bank, because their data set is different, their requirement is different. So choosing the right model is again a huge challenge, where you need the technical consultant to guide you and advise you. These are some of the challenges which we have always seen. So adopting generative AI, again, as I mentioned, there's a huge transformation happening, and I can see personally myself, most of my customers, because I lead the data analytics AI, we used to tell the data story till large language models was released. But today, most of my customers are interested on GenAI. So, but again, I want to highlight two things. Even if you want to go to GenAI, the first thing is you need to have the required data. And second thing is the data needs to be of good quality. Otherwise, it will again end up in something wrong information from your data. And second thing is if you have there is something called grounding. So if you heard about hallucination, which the team was already discussing. So today, the large language model which you are getting from Google, which is having a concept called grounding, which means it will give you the fact from where the response was taken. So for example, you have asked a question, it gave the answer, it will give you the summarization and citation, which means this is a summary of, or this is a response, and I got this response from this document which is available within your corpus. So it will make your hallucination zero. Okay. So how do you measure the success of these use cases? The first thing is again, depending on use case to use case. So for example, let us say that you are implementing a use case for retail customer. In that case, you will be seeing the conversion ratio. If you are looking for product campaigns or something, you will be seeing the results of ROI. So these are the different methods through which you can measure your success today for large language models, and also the productivity, the hours which you spent typically from the manual effort to the automation. So when it comes to future customer, any experiences, as I mentioned, everybody want an enhanced customer experience, and it also needs to drive to innovation. So for example, let me give a simple example. So we started banking. For example, let us say that you are visiting an Al Rajhi Bank or any banks in KSA today. What happens is, to open your account, they will ask you to fill a form, either through online or visit the branch and do that. Today, what they started doing was they wanted something very advanced. For example, one of my customer, okay. So what they wanted is, the time when I come to this country as an expat, when I complete my visa processing, my ICAMA got generated. So the time when I give my ICAMA information, it will fetch everything. It will create my account. It will not limit only with that, based on because ICAMA also says you, what is your role designation, blah, 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 right? So it will give you the, the next best offer, which can be applicable for you. So the day one, when you're onboarded to the bank account, you have the 360 view. So it was not the same story before. So which means before, the banks need to spend time to see how your transactions were, what is the income, what is the an outgoing happening, how your transactions are, how you're effectively using the cards. So today you don't need all these things. because of it's not only GenAI, it's the power of AI plus GenAI. I should tell that, right? So again, there is always a confusion that happens in the market. People think everything can be done in GenAI. No, everything cannot be done by GenAI. So GenAI can add as an enabler. So for example, you may be implementing an AI use case, and on top of that, you can bring GenAI capability, which helps you in terms of reporting. For example, let us say that you have a data warehouse today, and the CEO wanted to know what is the last 3 quarters performance of sales. Ideally, what happens before the large language models is that he need to ask the development team, can you please pull out the report, or the reporting team. Today, he or she don't need to spend time for that. They have the capability to directly interact with the database using the NLUs, the natural language understanding. So they can ask a question, I want this. It converts the NLUs into the SQLs. It will give you the data for you. And even you can ask, can you just make a report out of it? It will generate the report also, including PPTs, right? So responsible AI, as I mentioned, whatsoever we build, regardless of whether it is like Gen AI or AI, we need to have all this information when it comes to responsibility. One is ethics, transparency, accountability. Like when you're building a product or model or something, there should be somebody who should take the responsibility, as well as ethics. Because if you're not having a control, see, though it's a machine, it can also have some sense. So like it will understand some. It like for example, as Dr. Hassan said, it started getting its feeling. Now it can understand, like if you are also yelling at it, it will understand. It will reciprocate in a different way. So there should be somebody who need to also look into it in an effective way. Then prompting fairness. You should not ask just for granted anything. Then it will also give anything. So it's like garbage in and garbage out. So you should have a fairness in prompting. And again, we always say the use cases should be for human kind. It should not be used for something else. Because what we have started looking into the market is, though this technology is evolving and customers started utilizing, now it is taken for granted. So people started using this for different purposes. So we need to have the responsible control as well. So now I just spoke about how the trends are happening in KSA, where the investments are happening and what to focus. But if in case you haven't started any GenAI initiatives, how to start? The first thing is you need to understand what is the problem statement you have and how you are expecting the problem statement to be efficiently improved. Then you need to also create a team for this, because it shouldn't be a nightmare. You will call some partner saying I want to implement GenAI. It won't work in that way. It can be done, but it won't become effective for you. It will just go for a failure. So first of all, you as a business should know, really, do you need GenAI first, right? Second thing is once you decide, yes, I need GenAI, then your next question should be what is the problem statement you are trying to solve using GenAI? Once that is identified, you should have a technical team, or a team should be from your organization. And then you also need to have the skills to ensure that people understand. It should not be a dependency of just somebody coming and implementing, because within your organization, you should also have the knowledge. And I always recommend to start with small projects, not to start with a rocket science project, which will not give you any value. So it's always good to start with a small project and just gradually improve it. So as I mentioned, the key takeaways, most of the investments happen in personalization, enhanced services, and data-driven insights in KSA. So this is where it happens. And if I wanted to talk the 4 important areas where the GenAI is used heavily in KSA, first thing is sales and marketing content generation. Then it is used again for software development, because today using the GenAI large language models, you can ask a question like, I want to create a website. It will give the code for you. Okay, so and even for the debugging purpose, you can use it. Then we can also see in the research and development areas, it is used heavily in the case. I'm talking very specifically on KSA, and on the customer experiences. It can be contact centers, or if in case of content management or marketing or whatsoever it is, it can be again heavily used. So before I conclude, as I mentioned, again, generative AI is also aligned with Saudi Vision 2030 in terms of innovation and economic growth. So with that, I'm done. I'm happy to answer your questions, if you have any questions. Okay. So for example, when you talk about internal audit, are you talking about the risk management, or is it just only from the perspective of compliance? Okay. See, okay. There are two aspects of it. One is you already have your own rules of how to audit it. And for these rules, you also know what are the sources to be audited. For example, let us say that in retail banking, for example, so you will have an information about how the customers are coming and utilizing your services. So you want to audit this. So what typically happens is I know from my learnings, which means the previous experiences, this is how we typically do the audit. This process can be tuned within the models. You will be giving an input file as the documents and policies. And again, for this specific use case, I'm telling you, it needs to be controlled way. It should not go outside of your Google search. It should be within the corpus of your organization. Plus, you need to give the access for this particular agent. What it ideally does is like, it'll just read the documents, it'll understand the policies and principle, and it'll just go and check in the doc, like, sources, whether these are available or not. And it can also give you a summary of it, what is missing. And also, if there is a change happens within the document, it'll give you when it got changed. Let me give a relevant example for you. So, like, in the region, there is a pharmaceutical company who manufactures medicines. So they are completely aligned with the Europe market for the compliance perspective, which means it's, again, life science product. So any change, they have something called POS document. So the POS document will have the information about how the medicines are manufactured and how every day the operations will be handled in the machines and what are the ingredients getting added. And this is like a workbook. So each of this workbook will have multiple sub workbooks. So any changes you're doing in the parent, the child needs to also get updated. If in case you're not updating this particular child, again, you're like, getting into a risk zone, they will give you the penalty. So ideally, what this particular customer had, the challenge was all the data was available within the SAP DMS machine, the document storage. So they wanted to ensure that this operation need to be seamlessly reduced. So they started utilizing like, GenAI capability. They just brought all this into the bucket as a storage, and the model has been trained. So what it does is like, it'll just go understand everything, and it'll also like, for example, there are like IDs for each document, and it also have the information like which are the documents related to this. It'll go and manually fix it, and it'll generate the report for you. And this is something which they directly send it to the Europe government. So the same process can be implemented on your audit purpose as well. Yes. Okay, good question. The answer is very simple. So you already told me that it's a Power BI. So it should be Copilot, should tell me. But if it is Google Cloud, yes, I have the answer. It works because all our products today are integrated. So if your data is available within Google Cloud Storage or like, data warehouse or in data lake, your lineage, metadata, everything is integrated with GenAI. It can tell you everything. So where the product is having, like, for example, the data quality also it can tell you, and it can also generate you the report for that. So for this, definitely, like, it's Copilot story. Yeah. Sorry? I couldn't. APG. Okay, so very good question. So for example, if you're using API gateway for different, so we have something called Do It AI. So which helps the developers to build their own applications and codes and everything. And even like if you're planning to host any of these GenAI models for different purposes, you can use APG integrations. So for example, like you're building an application, you want to showcase this is an API, you can use it. And also like, today, like it's also powered by GenAI. So the latest version, if you're using the X, it is powered by GenAI. So you can utilize that as well. Yes.
Have you faced any issue for regulators conflict, like some kind of regulators are prohibiting the usage of AI in Saudi Arabia's, for example, such as the Central Bank of Saudi Arabia, for using it in banks or in fintech companies?
So for example, we worked with SAMA. Okay, so SAMA has given us a clear direction how they wanted all this to be articulated. So there are a lot of certifications as well. So like Google already, when I talk, I'm just specifically talking about Google. So Google already have received the certifications in terms of the responsible AI and the AI direction. So all our products, whatever it's coming out, because again, it's not a single product. There are multiple products. So we work with our global product teams to enable all these features within the product. So for example, let us say that if you're using Dataplex, which is our data governance product, it is again like, having the principles of NDMO, because NDMO says that these are the 15 principles that needs to be implemented when it comes to data governance in a product as well. So always when we go and talk to the customer, they'll ask us the question, do you have NDMO principles applied? Yes. So the same, the AI principles, whatever is given by the direction of the local government, it is not only the global, even the local governments, wherever the products are sold, it is applicable. So it's again applied there. Anything else? All good? Okay. So thank you so much. If in case you have any questions, I'll be here. We can always chat around it. Thank you.
My name is Barney. I'm from Salesforce. And as I was saying, Salesforce is very famous for its CRM systems, but we do a lot of things. We do marketing, we do commerce, and we also do AI. Yeah, wow, surprise. I had a lot of slides to show you, but it's okay. What I do, my name is Barney, and I work with mostly not-for-profit organizations, and I support non-for-profit organizations that want to use the technology and make sure they're up to date with the innovations as well. But what happens is here, maybe you don't work for nonprofits, but you work for public sector. Maybe you work for companies that have a nonprofit or charity, or maybe you could just use the use cases that I would be presenting in your own company as well. I'm an account executive, which means I work in sales. So lower your expectations on the technical questions. I won't be answering them all, but I will try my best to do what I can. Okay, I don't know if it will get fixed. Okay, let me see. Okay, so what I was gonna show is we talked all about GenAI. We all know what is GenAI, but how they can be used in the nonprofit sector or public sector for different ministries, etc. Again, generating all of the responses, answering to all of the cases, helping your agents, answering to claims and requests, etc. But there is a problem with the GenAI is the data that you want to use the LLM. So you want to make sure that you are using these generative capabilities of AI, but you want to make sure that your data doesn't leave your storage. You want to make sure that when the answer is generated, is not learning from your data and it's keeping your data with yourself. And you want to make sure that while it's generating different prompts or building different changes in your system, no one else knows about it but your own company. So what Salesforce did for it is that we have our system where you can keep your data, right? So it's safe, it's secure, it's with you. But then we created this trust layer of our Einstein AI. We call it Einstein. So Einstein AI trust layer, what it does, it masks your data, anonymizes your data, and makes sure there is no retention of your data when it comes to the LLM. So you make a prompt using, imagine you open your Salesforce CRM, you see your customers, right? And you see that this one customer is very interested in one of your services. They have been browsing the website, but they're not making the purchase. And you want to send them an email with a discount, surprisingly, on this specific product. So what you do is you want to generate an email. So you are taking your data about this customer, and ideally sending it to the LLM to get the email generated and bring it back to yourself to send it out. But you don't want the LLM to save this data. That's where the Salesforce trust layer kicks in, uses your data, masks it, generates the thing, brings it back to you without letting the LLM read or keep your data at all. So what would happen is that you are keeping your data with yourself. You are not letting anyone learn from your data, but yourself. So your AI, your personal AI, will be using your own data for your own purposes and benefits, but no one else will. So what is happening right now when I go to ChatGPT and want to create an email based on your profile? ChatGPT learns from my email different things about Salesforce, what I want to write, to whom I want to write. But if I want to do the same email through Salesforce, that's not going to happen. So my company data stays confidential and safe. That's basically one thing that Salesforce is doing a little bit different. Another thing that Salesforce is doing different is creating solutions based on the industry. So we have generative AI tailored for manufacturing, generative AI tailored for automotive, for nonprofit, for public sector, etc. Because each of these industries have their unique set of needs. And what happens here is that you would be able to get already pre-trained AI on the generally available data that can generate different tones, different, different language that you would like to speak to your customers. So customers of insurance industry would be completely different from the customers of automotive industry. So you don't want to talk to them with the same language. And that's where Salesforce, slides are here. Let me show you my fancy slides. Oh, no, it's okay. Let's not complicate it because... Okay. Let me see. Don't go far away. I don't want to, Okay. So this is me. And that's my LinkedIn in case you want to connect. I will show it later as well. And I work for Salesforce. Okay, this is the most boring slide, but I have to show it to you because someone is recording me. All of your purchasing decisions has to be made based on the generally available products. If I tell you this product is not available, don't make your buying purchases based on that. That's the main thing. Okay, so we talked all about it today. I'm not gonna stop too much here. We talked about predictive AI. We use at Salesforce a lot the predictive functionalities of AI. Like for example, if you have a customer, AI can predict the behavior of the customer. They usually buy at discount season. They usually buy at holiday seasons. They usually buy when you launch a new product, etc. So it helps you predict the behavior of your customers or of your beneficiaries, to close cases, to open cases, etc. Generative AI, we already know. And autonomous and agents, these are the people who should be, agents, AI agents who should be working for you. And we talked about them today when we talked about ClassBuddy, for example, the same agents that are helping the students. In Salesforce, we have these agents when it comes to many different things. It could be agents for your employees. Like, for example, I work for marketing and I want to create a campaign. And I can ask my Marketing Cloud agent to draft a campaign for me based on the audience that I choose. So what AI will do, will learn my audience, their behavior, their pattern, and create a campaign with the language, with the sequence that will work for this specific audience based on the data we already have on them. So that's the agents that will be working with me. And then, of course, the fourth wave, we are going for the AI, and let's see how lucky we will be when they come. Okay, that was just an interesting data I wanted to share, that different apps reach 1 million downloads at different times. Imagine, all of us know Netflix, but it took them 3.5 years to get to 1 million users. And for ChatGPT, it took 5 days. 5 days. In less than a week, more than 1 million users were created in ChatGPT. So AI is everywhere. All day we are talking about it. So let's see how you can use Salesforce's AI as well, right? So that's the issues that I was talking to you about, that when we are talking about consumer AI, and consumer AI is the same AI that we've been playing with, like, for example, ChatGPT, they are not ready for some sensitive use cases, like, for example, nonprofits. Nonprofits work with a lot of for example, with children, with refugees. They work with a lot of patients for their treatments. And this data is very, 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 very sensitive. And you want to make sure that you are taking advantage of AI, but you don't want to compromise the data. That's where we say that the consumer AI is not ready. So we have trust issues. We don't know if we can share this data. We don't want the model to be trained at our own cost. So that's why Salesforce created this layer that I will be talking to you about in a second. Let me just, okay, I don't want to just skip through, I don't want to bore you guys, but what I wanted to here talk about is that if we could afford having long response times or answering everyone with a generic email or doing tasks over and over, now we cannot do it. Now we don't have the excuse because we have an AI who is drafting it and doing it personal. Like, for example, the other day I received the most generic email from one of my partners, and and my reply was like, man, you could at least use an AI to answer me because this is rubbish. So don't do that. And now we have the AI to do it, so it makes our life actually easier. So what Salesforce is doing in this industry? So actually, our AI journey started about 10 years ago when we launched our Einstein team, and we launched the team that started working on the predictive AI most of the time. So in 2016, we launched our Einstein for the customers, and they were using their predictive capabilities. So as I was telling you, it could look at the customer behavior, it could look at the case resolution times, help you with the knowledge, like, for example, next best action. So if I'm a case manager, I look at the questions and the AI suggests me different articles that I could send to the customer. So it was what we were doing up to now when we launched this last year our Einstein GPT. And Einstein GPT now uses the data that you have, uses the prediction of predictive AI, and generates the responses for you. So it basically does my job. So let's see if I will be employed in a few years when it gets to a level where it can literally replace me. Okay. So the priorities for Salesforce's AI is first to make sure that AI is embedded in every flow of work. Cases, sales, marketing, commerce, like talking face-to-face to a customer. Everywhere there should be AI, learning from what is happening inside your organization and helping each other, because marketing teams needs data from sales. Support teams also needs data from sales. Sales teams needs data from service team. So all of this should be embedded in the same place. Then efficiency and productivity. Of course, we strive for productivity in Salesforce, and we use our own products. I use the Salesforce Einstein AI all the time, and it's learning how I talk with customers. So my replacement is really like getting there. And the job augmentation. What we want to do in Salesforce is make sure, it's okay. So to make sure that with the AI revolution, we are not losing people, but we are creating jobs. This is the Salesforce's one of the priorities, because a lot of people were really scared in the beginning, like, oh, what are we gonna do? No, there will be a lot of work, the prompt generator, there will be person looking into the hallucinations, there will be person looking into the ethics, there will be person looking into different policies and protocols. So it will actually create jobs. So we shouldn't be so scared. I should just re-qualify myself, let's say. So the trust layer that I was talking to you about. So you have, let's say, ideal world, you all use Salesforce. And you have all of your data stored there. You have your processes, you have your structure, and everything in Salesforce. And it provides you with the security that you need to make sure your data is safe. On the other side, you have the LLMs, and you want to make sure you use them because they have a lot of data from the internet that they have learned, and they can give you very nice answers to your questions. But you don't have control over LLMs, so you don't know what they are going to do with your data. That's why we have added this layer of Einstein GPT trust layer, where it makes sure that there is no retention of your data, so it just brings it back to you. It doesn't retain the data in the LLM. It audits the data for you. It makes sure to detect any toxicity that can be happening, the hallucination, discrimination that we were talking about. You will create, of course, different protocols and train your AI before you let it do its thing. But still, there will be a layer that will help. And we would be also masking your data and the prompts as well to make sure that it's not leaked anywhere while you are trying to make advantage of this innovation. And with all of this in mind, what we have done is we created the Einstein 1 platform. And Einstein 1 platform, it is your data in real time across all of your departments, all of your different industries, using the Einstein and using all of the advantages of generative AI that you might have today. So you would be able to, as I actually saw one customer doing it. They just looked at the profile of a customer. It was a sportswear brand. So they just took the customer's profile, looked at what they bought last. She bought like hiking things. And they created an email with a link to a landing page that was created with AI, personalized to her purchase history. So she gets an email, she clicks on the link, and she sees all the beautiful things that she would buy based on her history. So we are increasing the chances of a customer making a purchase by personalizing the hell out of this journey. And the same thing, nonprofits too, they need donations, they need different volunteers. So what they do is they create a landing page, or they create websites and web pages that are relatable to me. Like, for example, I relate a lot to children's cases. I don't relate too much to environmental. My fault, but that's who I am. So if you want my donation, most probably you should talk to me about different cases for kids rather than oceans, because I would care more about kids and I would probably give my money more to those cases. So you could use AI and learn about me a lot more based on my behavior and use it in your advantage to get my money at the end of the day. And this generative AI, as I was just giving an example, can be used for sales, to generate your emails, look at like forecasting what is happening, what you will get when. It can be used in service to make sure that your cases are resolved much faster, marketing, commerce, even IT. IT, for example, I can right now, using my own Salesforce account, just ask the Einstein AI to create a report for me for this data. And it will just create the report and I send it out to my manager. I don't have to do it myself anymore. I don't have to build the filters, add the audience. No, I don't have to do that. Same thing, for example, I can say, hey, please create a flow to automate this thing. And it will do it for me. So I don't have to have all of this knowledge to do it. And it will do it in a much faster way and probably will avoid 3 different phone calls I will make to our IT department. So everyone's time is saved and AI is working. So different departments can use AI in different ways, and it's available today. And what is the value for nonprofits? There are any nonprofits here? I don't think so, but let's just quickly go through them. So nonprofits can increase their retention, so donors will be giving them the money more and stay loyal to them. If you look at the nonprofits, just to taking a step back, of course they get to donations, but that's very hard because you're not giving back anything to people. So they have to give their money just because, right? Just because you do something good, and they're not even sure you do it. They just give the money. So you have to be very, very, very convincing, actually showing some proof of what you do to make sure that they give you the money and they give it to you again. Because for me, if I buy a bag that I love, I'm going to wear it every day and I remember what I spent my money for. But if I'm donating it somewhere, I might forget, I don't think about it. And when I want to buy a bag for, I don't know, $1,000, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of money, but I love it, no? But if a nonprofit asks me $1,000, I would be like, whoa, that's a lot of money, no, for nothing for me to get, nothing, right? Just feel good about myself. So they have to work a lot to get the money. And then they have to work twice as hard to keep these donors. So if they can make benefit out of this, you can for sure, because you are giving something back. Then, of course, there is an increase in revenue, increase in productivity of their employees, because they don't have to do all of these manual works they are doing now. And surprise, surprise, nonprofits don't have IT teams most of the time. So having an AI that can do some of the work would be very, very useful. Again, across different departments, AI can be used in many different ways. And you see, Einstein for sales, for service. So the same product that you would be using to sell something, nonprofits will be using to get donors and donations, because at the end of the day, it's revenue. Different kind, but still. The service, Einstein for service, that you would be using to like look into your claims, requests, and cases, they will be using for the same thing, but from a different perspective. So eventually it's the same products that we have, but tailored a little bit every time to different industries. So for manufacturing, they will have preset learnings and templates. For nonprofit, they will have a different set. And for them, we created Einstein for Nonprofit Cloud. So it's specifically made for nonprofits. So when they start using it, they don't have to go through the whole lot of customization. They will have like out-of-the-box functionality tailored to them. Same thing will go for the manufacturing. Same thing will go for the financial services, etc. You would have something preset for you, so you don't have to start from scratch. And afterwards, you can just take from there and tailor, teach it using your data, make sure you are building your own prompts, your own modules, etc. So all of this can be done. And this will not be interesting for you, but now with the nonprofits, what we are working on is making sure that they can get impact reports. And impact reports is very hard to measure. It's not a report of how much sales I did or how many cases I resolved. It's how many kids I actually helped. And how many refugees got food with my organization, and how are they doing now? How many people got cancer treatment and actually feeling better now? So there is a lot more research, a lot more reporting to do to get to the impact reporting. So that's what we are also trying to automate with AI. So it learns the data and does it for you, instead of you trying to, at the end of the year, work for 1 month to create the annual report. Personalized gift proposals, asking people in the personalized way to donate their money. And of course, intelligent meeting briefs. It seems like something really, really simple, like briefing your call and making a summary and what to do next and how to do it. But when I read the briefings of my calls, I was like, okay, my manager has access to it. He will read what I said to a customer. So it is a good thing to have, and it really makes you reflect on what you are doing and how you are talking to your customer and what concerns they had, because not all the time you remember everything they said and with which tone. And if the AI keeps accountable for everything and make sure that it says like, okay, the customer was concerned about X, Y, and Z, so when you write an email, make sure to send them these articles. Or I can say, generate a follow-up email based on the meeting briefs that you created, and it will do it for you. And it saves so much time, especially if you are working in a nonprofit and you have 3 people working with you, no time, and you have to do a whole lot of work. So that's what nonprofits are doing and will do with our products. And how do you or any nonprofit get ready for it? Because we talked a lot about nonprofits, a lot about GenAI and how we can use it, but we didn't talk about if we can use it, right? Because if your data is not ready, you can't use it. There is whole lots of products that you could use, but if you are not ready, you as a person, if your team is not ready to use it, it's not gonna work. If your data is not ready, it's not clean, it's full of duplicates, it's not correct, you have one person with 3 different emails, it's not gonna work the way you want it. The technical readiness, you have to make sure that your team is equipped and upskilled on how to use it, and make sure that they are actually checking what is happening and not just generating an email and sending it, right? So all of these things. And another interesting thing that you have to be ready is the risks. Like, you have to, before you start using it, make sure you are ready for the risks. What can go wrong? Am I ready for it? And what is my contingency plan? What am I gonna do if something goes wrong? So it's not all that rainbows and flowers to say, okay, GenAI, I have it, great, I will generate my email with ChatGPT. No, it's not that easy. But luckily, we have Royal Cyber here who is going to keep you in check and tell you all the things that you have to do before they can help you. So, yeah, that is me. And I finished. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I think there will be dinner. So
This could be a very simple question, but the Einstein GPT
yes.
is Salesforce proprietary?
Yes, it's Salesforce's product, and it's the first AI for the CRM. So it is a little bit different from other things. So it's not going to do everything the AI will do, but it's going to do specific things with using the Salesforce products. Yeah.
We can add this to our existing Salesforce platform then?
Of course. And the chances you might already have it are also very high. So you have to check it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting. And okay. All right. More on this later on.
Yeah, sure.
Then.
If you have any questions about Salesforce, please feel free to reach me wherever you want. And I will just leave my contact detail here for a sec because I was planning to leave it for a little bit longer in the beginning. If you need to reach me, I forgot my business card, so you can take a picture here. Yeah.
I've used Einstein.
Oh,
okay. So is it using OpenAI at the end as an LLM?
At the end, yes. Yes, it's OpenAI at the end. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for being so patient and actually staying here till the end. I know it has been a long day, but I think there will be some more questions for the speakers now if you have last-minute questions that you want to ask. Otherwise, feel free to tell us to just stop it. Thank you.
So thank you, Barney. Thank you, everyone. I know it was a long, lengthy session. I can see all your faces. But, you know, AI is something that it could go long. We have two other speakers as well from Royal Cyber, but I think it's too much for one day, right? Raise your hands, or do you want more? So the thing is, the plan of engagement so far in the kingdom is that we are having sessions with all our customers. And as Salesforce partners, as SAP partners, and partners for, you know, all 70 technologies that Royal Cyber is representing, the best value that we can give is we can give you a consolidated approach in which our AI team, AI department, could give you an architecture that is open and it could be integrated to any of your present systems. So in Jeddah, in Dammam, what we are doing, we are having further sessions one-on-one with all our customers in which we are giving ideas. If you say Salesforce, yes, we have a team of 300 people, alhamdulillah, on Salesforce. So we can give you an insight how you can utilize Salesforce AI Einstein, right? For example, SAP, right? If you want to go to Google, other partners as well, we are here. So as a consultants, we are creating an analysis for you. And you can further present those use cases or analysis to your board members or your departments. And we'll help you for a pilot run or a POC or a full-fledged project. Because these projects are evolutionary. You have to take very careful baby steps initially. And baby steps, you have to quickly. Because, you know, this is something that I call them principles. So all principles are going at a very fast pace. And therefore, I think all of you should take an early step. Right, Barney? So thank you so much.